So you have no idea what you wish to do for Naruto-san, just that you want to do something for him? Dirt raises one of his eyebrows in questioning as he gathers what the nervous boy before him said. He then smirks connivingly and says, My Issei-kun. How daring of you to make the first move. Why, not even Matsuri-san, whom lives with Naruto-san, had mustered up the courage to do what you're subtly implying. TCH. Are you helping me or not, old man? Cause if not, I can always find someone else to get help from. Issei scowls at the middle-aged man with a twitch of his eyebrow. Honestly, he had a hard time debating on whom to ask for help in finding Naruto a gift, and Dirt came out as number one simply because he knew Naruto the longest, tying with Issei. Matsuri was out since she's the type to think of everyone and will only advise Issei on getting something mundane, while Kaneko barely knows the blonde for more than a month. Ahahaha, it's just a little joke, Issei-kun. Dirt chuckles lowly from the top of his coffee cup and smiles at the brunette in a grandfatherly way. But why would you want to buy him a present? If it's about him saving you from the near accident, I'm sure he did it without expecting a gift. Anyone with a proper conscience would, after all. I think a polite thank you is all that's needed as thanks for someone like Naruto-san. Well, that or an orange whoopee cushion and a box of ready-made instant ramen. It's not just for him saving me. He's done a lot of things for me since I first met him. He gives me advice and accommodates me with my high school lessons as well. I just want to thank him for helping me out so much. The teen furrows his eyes at the look the middle-aged man is giving him. Somehow, he doesn't think that what he's thinking is what the man's thinking. What youthful innocence. Ah, how good it is to be young, the man sighs with a grin and takes a long sip of coffee from his cup before slamming it down onto the table. His grin becomes a wide ear-to-ear smile as he proclaims, Very well, Issei-kun. This Dirtirg is willing to help you in your endeavors in any way possible. Be it money to resource to the greatest technologies in the world. I give you free-range access to use it all. I don't really need any of that. It would defeat the purpose of me being the one to get Naruto a gift. Just a little advice is all that I need. Thanks for the thought though. Issei waves off the generous offer from the extremely wealthy coffee addict and slouches back into his chair to get into a comfortable position. Moo, if it was money, it would have been a lot easier. Dirt pouts as he sits back into his chair and takes another draft of his coffee cup. Issei raises an eyebrow at what he says and he clarifies. In case you haven't noticed, we know next to nothing about Naruto-san. It's not that we're bad friends, but rather, it's because he never tells us anything about his past. We merely know some random facts that could be found in his registries and government-kept paperworks like his birth date and schooling, but no real personal experience. From my memory, I only know for a fact that Matsuri is an unofficial relative of Naruto's and that he traveled the world before opening the ramen shop. Huh, you're right. Issei holds his chin in between his thumb and index finger and tries to recall what he knew about the blonde and topic. Nothing pops up and it only reminds him of the reason why he's looking for help in the first place. He throws his hand into the air in surrender and sighs out. Dang, so I'm at a dead end, huh? Not exactly. No, I think I might have an answer to our predicament. The middle-aged man rubs his stubble and mutters something. He then stands up and goes to pay the bill for the curry and hamburger that both he and Issei ordered before walking out the door of the restaurant with the brunette following closely behind. As he walks towards the direction of his van, he asks his brunette friend, Issei-kun, can you call Kaneko-san and acquire her help as well? I have an idea that just might work. Huh? Kaneko? Sure, if she's free I guess. Issei follows the man with a questioning raise of his brows as he pulls out his phone and complies with the man's request. Unknown hospital basement. What? Kaneko pinches her cheeks and slowly pulls as she muffles out her question to what Dirt just said. Issei did the same thing as well. I want you and Issei-kun to use these untested virtual reality mind-jacking machines that my company had made a few weeks earlier to access Naruto-san's memories and dreams. Once inside, I would like you to look around and find any information about a good gift to give Naruto-san. The middle-aged man replies simply as he types on a keyboard in front of a glowing futuristic-looking machine. And pray tell, what is a virtual reality mind-jacking machine and how does it enter the mind of someone? Issei asks as he pinches the bridge of his nose. Honestly, there were plenty of other questions he wanted to ask as well, like, why are they in a creepy basement under an abandoned hospital? Why Dirt's company felt the need to make something that's basically an interrogation tool? Why they thought it was a good idea to leave something so ominous sounding out in the middle of nowhere, and so many other questions. He just felt that these two questions were the slightly more important and on-topic ones. The rest might give him more of a headache than an answer. Well, the virtual reality mind-jacking machine is just what it sounds like. It hijacks the user's mind and inputs it into a virtual reality that is closely akin to a mirror of the mind. As for the memory and dream programs, Dirt stops typing and looks up from his keyboard filled with too many buttons to turn his gaze at the pair of observers. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a plastic card with a single strand of yellow hair in between it. It is just a gimmick that one of the lab monkeys created to get to know his girlfriend better. It ended up with him breaking up with his girlfriend immediately after. The middle-aged man walks past the white and brown-haired pair to access another machine that's held together by lots of wires to all the other machines. He puts the plastic cart into the new machine and continues typing while giving Issei and Kaneko a sideway glance as they starts talking. So we're going to look into Naruto's dream to find a perfect gift for Issei to buy? Kaneko tilts her head sideways in confusion as she doesn't quite understand the urgent need for her own presence in this situation. Ah, that's where the problem comes from. Navigating the memories and dreams of someone is like sorting through a complex puzzle. It's hard, so the tech monkeys decided to turn the thing into a literal puzzle and made the whole machine into a sort of puzzle game. Dirt finishes typing on the keyboard and gestures the two to follow him towards two beds with weird helmets attached to it. As I expected, Naruto-san's memories is sorted straightforwardly into a dungeon that only goes down. It has 100 floors and each floor has a guard of sort. The guards are a part of Naruto-san's dreams and are either a person or an embodiment of his memories of some sort. Your goal is to navigate to the end of the dungeon and complete the navigation. From there, we can collect the data of the dream and pull out the potentially perfect gift. That sounds needlessly complicated. Issei scrunches his eyebrow and looks at Dirt suspiciously as he pats the beds, gesturing them to lay down on it. Nothing I can do. This is the best bet we have. Dirt shrugs his shoulder and takes a sip of his coffee as he moves sideways to make room for Kaneko. Issei soon follows the white-haired girl's lead and sits on the bed. Don't worry about time. I regulated it so that the dream is much longer than reality, so unless you spend around 10 years in there, we'll have enough time to buy the gift as you finish. Issei and Kaneko gives the middle-aged man one last slightly doubt their helmets. They both lose consciousness immediately and Dirt smiles mischievously. He walks over to one of the machines, taps a few buttons and falls backwards as a large cushioned chair appears underneath him. He pulls out a large tub of popcorn and slumps backwards as a large flat-screen television slides down from the ceiling, showing the image of the two teens looking around confusedly in a stone cavern corridor. Separation from reality, check. Time flow stop, check. Record function, on and check. Popcorn, double check, ha. It's good that I have the power to basically do whatever I want, but really, it's so tiring. I guess I can indulge my friends from time to time though. With a large content sigh, the humanoid dragon amongst dragons pops a small piece of popcorn into his mouth and watches the chaos unfold. Cavern of memories, whoa. Issei blinks a few times as his surrounding changes from a technological madman's lab in a hospital's basement to a large cavernous corridor. He looks besides him as Kaneko grabs his sleeve and steadies herself. Apparently she couldn't take the sudden change in environment as well as he had. It feels so real. Once steadied, the white-haired girl looks around the cavern and touches the wall. Yeah, this is pretty amazing. Issei nods as well as he taps the floor with his foot and hear the echoing thud ring through the corridor as a result. Rinnnnng. Rinnnnng. Ren. The two looks at each other in confusion and looks down at their own perspective pockets as something in it vibrates and rings. Reaching for the pocket, they each find a ring and a small folded note. Quizzically they both open the notes at the same time and reads them. Kaneko-san, put on the ring. It will allow you to access your rook powers as well as chakra and senjutsu for the upcoming challenge. Kaneko blinks in surprise at the note and rereads it a few times to figure out that Dirt knows of her abilities and current race. She scrunches her eyebrows as she figures that Naruto probably told him and puts on the ring. Immediately, a rush of power enters her body as chakra flows evenly through her veins without her guidance. She mentally puts a stop on it and glances sideways to blink in surprise when Issei puts on his own ring. Issei-kun, put the ring on your left hand. It will allow you access to a tool called the boosted gear. Just focus on your left hand, think the words boosted gear and it'll work. Use it for the upcoming challenge. Issei raises a brow at the note as it catches into flames and lets go before the flames touches his hand. Following the note, he puts the ring on the left hand and thinks the word boosted gear. Immediately, a red flash appears with his hand as the center, and when the light dies down, his hand is covered in an extremely decorated red gauntlet with numerous green jewels imbued into it. Whoa! Issei blinks as the jewels glow a bit after the word boost echoes through his mind and feels himself grow more energetic. He feels his muscles grow stronger, his limbs grow limber, himself grow more powerful, and many more. He whistles inside his head as he feels one of the many things the strange middle-aged man can do with a bit of effort. He turns around to see Kaneko not having a similar weapon but just the ring on her finger. He raises an eyebrow at this and asks, "You didn't get a weapon?" Status upgrade. I'm more durable. Kaneko blinks in surprise at the question and answers with a bit of deliberation. She assumed that Issei knew of her powers but now doubts that as he just asked her if she had her own sacred gear. The fact that he's marveling his own weapon with such interest tells her that he didn't know he owns a sacred gear at all either. She makes note to not speak of the supernatural around Issei, assuming he doesn't know about it already. She secretly wonders why Naruto hasn't told Issei already. Oh, looks like the first stage is ready. Let's get this over with, right Kaneko? Though he says it like it's a chore. Issei is literally bouncing down the newly lit path in the corridor. Kaneko rolls her eyes at the boy's liveliness and jogs after him. Floor 1. Ebisu. Issei. Behind, Kaneko gives a quick direction as she senses the man wearing the shady-looking shades move quickly behind her friend. Goo. Issei lifts his gauntleted arm up just in time to block his neck as the man appears at his back and strikes with a knife. He grunts while holding his ground as the force behind the attack was surprisingly strong and attempts to grab the man's arm. The man disappears again in a burst of speed and reappears on the other side of the room. The man discards the knife which broke from the confrontation with Issei's gauntlet and pulls out another one before disappearing. Left. Right. Front. Up. Kaneko tracks the man's movement and expertly makes an uppercut timed using only her senjutsu as her sense. She grunts as her strike matches his and the ground she stands on craters. Dragon shot. A red beam of energy blasts towards the shaded man and strikes him with a satisfying roar. Issei whooped in victory as he fell to his knees in exhaustion of the reset, as he calls it, but Kaneko kept her senses on full throttle. Issei. Behind. The white-haired girl screams in urgency as the brunette turns around at the same time only to meet a kunai to the face. A burnt piece of wood falls from the dissipation of the earlier energy blast and the brunette falls. Issei. Kaneko didn't make it very far either as the man takes advantage of the moment of pause to trap her in a rope of hidden wire with pieces of paper on it. The man puts 2 fingers in front of his face and announces, Katsu. Everything went white. Gah. That's the 7th time we've lost to him. What kind of dungeon is this? The first level is a last boss level. What happened to the slime level, damn it? Outside the entrance of the first level, Issei tears at his hair and rolls around in frustration. He's a part of Naruto's memory. Kaneko mutters in wonder as she re-evaluates the challenge of the task before them. It's just the first level and they've already met someone who's stronger than her and as fast as Kiba. She narrows her eye as the hurdle raises itself higher when she figures out that the man is probably only the tip of the iceberg. If Naruto can use senjutsu, his teacher who taught him is probably somewhere within the dungeon as well. Well, at least I'm catching up to him. I can react to his speed at the 5th boost and sort of match him on the 6th boost. His strength can be reached on the 6th boost as well, but Issei makes a gesture while trying to find the word that he needs. He gives up in the end, but Kaneko got the gist of it. Fighting experience, the man is full of it while the pair has a grand total of a few small scuffles in comparison. The man fights with grace, technique, decisiveness and absolute certainty of his victory. Meanwhile, Kaneko and Issei flounders around to keep up with the man as he slowly chip away at their defense, waiting for the chance to strike a killing blow. The difference between reaction time and strategy trumps over them even if they were a match in terms of strength and speed. Rinnnnng. Rinnnnng. Ren. Him. Issei stops his floundering as he feels his pocket vibrate. He reaches in and pulls out a note. He opens it and holds it so that both he and Kaneko can read it together. Not 10 seconds later, Kaneko grabs the note and punches it to oblivion, it along with the ground under it. It seems that you're having a lot of trouble. Since I'm generous, I'll tell you this after watching you for so long. First, he doesn't have any memory of previous fights. Every time he fights, he has to reanalyze your fighting style. Use that time of analyzing to your advantage. Second, Issei-kun gains access to a new boost the longer time goes on. Each time is around 10 seconds, so stall if you can until you can outspeed him completely. Third, Kaneko-san should be careful about your kicks. He's been getting sneaking peeks under your ski, cat patterns fit you. Good luck, dirt-tiered. So he has been watching us this whole time. Che, he only choose to help us now? Issei sighs exasperatingly and looks over at a steaming Kaneko. He chooses wisely to not mention anything near her lower body and instead plan for a strategy against the enemy. Secretly, he wants to just give up and buy the blonde a box of ramen, but that would insult everyone's help. What do you think we should do? Do you think you can beat him after 2 minutes of using your boost? Kaneko asks as she realizes that each fight so far has lasted for a minute at most. If what Issei says is true, then 12 boosts is more than enough to outrank the opponent in terms of strength and speed. Hopefully, it is enough so that he can ignore the handicap of experience in fighting. No, at the rate, boost, was powering me up, 7. Maybe 8 is all that's needed to outmatch him. That's what I feel anyway. Issei determinedly says as he rebukes Kaneko's claim. The girl nods in acknowledgement and frowns in concentration. We have to hold him out for a minute at the least. Kaneko feels a slight touch of encouragement from the brunette's words but squashes it down as a wave if depression hits her. In comparison, her sister, the person she wishes to catch up to and reunite with, is much stronger than this man, and here she is, planning to stall him rather than defeating him. If it continues like this, she'll never catch up her Ne-sama. We'll think of something. After all, we still have 99 more floors to beat, right? Issei notices the white-haired girl's melancholy and pats her head with a stupid grin. So told by Naruto, she looks at him in surprise before nodding her head once with a little smile of her own. They take another moment to calm themselves, then stand and face the door to the room once more. Phew, I gotta finish this quickly and find a gift for Kaneko and Dirt for helping me as well. Yeah. Let's do this. Issei pumps himself up and pushes the door open while taking steady strides into the room. I'm not by myself. There are others to help me reach Ne-sama. Together, we can reach her. This is just the first challenge. Kaneko nods at the solution. She reaffirms herself when Issei patted her and walks in after the brunette. 3. Issei mutters as he keeps look at the man, and another boost rang through his mind. Unlike the other times where they both rushed in to attack the man, this time they waited back. Seeing as the man isn't attacking, it's safe to assume that Dirt's advice is correct and that the man is analyzing them before attacking. Besides the brunette, Kaneko stands completely still as she processes nature energy into her chakra. Her senses heighten and she enters a stage of awareness that Naruto trained her to use for advantage. In this stage, she can predict movement and sense energy almost at a high bishop's or queen's level. This is a stage that she only managed to reach twice during the 7 fights against the man. Naruto had said that there were higher advancements in using senjutsu but recommended that this stage is the one she stops at until she gains more experience at using the art. She silently apologizes to the blonde as she broke the rule and continued to process nature energy. 6. Issei feels another rush of energy as a boost occurs and tenses his muscles as the plan is now at the critical stage. The moment he shifted, however, the man disappears in a burst of speed and appears in front of the both of them with a knife readied. Issei foresaw this move ahead of time from experience and swings his fist at where he felt the man would most likely be at. Clang! Ku! The sound of metal hitting metal echoes outwards from the point of impact. Issei grimaces as he feels the recoil of the strike rippling through his arm. Using the recoil to his advantage, he quickly pulls back his left fist and leans his upper body backwards with it for a kick. The man spins once to roll past Issei's sloppy attack and uses the momentum to swing another knife that he pulled out from his waist bag after discarding the one Issei broke on contact. Done, Naya. Kaneko sensed the man's intention and punches at the knife before it touches the brunette. She widens her eyes in surprise as her fist didn't just knock back the knife but broke into it and continues to strike the man in the stomach. Bam! Close. Kaneko lowers her fist as chips of wood falls from where she landed her punch and turns towards where the man reappeared, on the other side of the room. She feels her ear twitch and tail sways and wonders when they got loose from the bindings used to hide them. 7. Issei straightens from the odd posture he gotten into during the conflict and punches his fist into the gauntlet's palm. Beside him, Kaneko nods in acknowledgement and settles into what looks like a modified boxing stance. The man pushes up his glasses with the index finger of his left hand and uses the other hand to pull out another knife from his waist pouch. A moment later, everyone moves into action. Floor 2. Jiraiya, in my defense, I did not know he could breathe fire. Outside the room for the second floor, Issei tries to placate a glaringly mad Kaneko. The battle lasted longer than they had both thought due to the man having more tricks up his sleeves than just disappearing and attacking from behind or replacing fatal hits with wood. The clash ended when Issei calls forth a rather ingenious plan from the deepest crevices of his brain where Kaneko boxed the man in from the front and he blasts him with a dragon shot from the air. Don't ask how he got into the air. What he didn't account for though was that the man can breathe fire. The dragon shot landed head on and disabled the man, but the impact caused the flames to spread out and hit Kaneko, burning most of her clothing in the process. Funnily enough, the man's first and last words were, "Cat panties, Mo." Issei gave him a discreet thumbs up in agreement as Kaneko landed the finishing blow, repeatedly. Kaneko continues to glare at the teen as she moves slightly but noticeably away from the teen while hugging her uniform, which repaired itself after walking out of the floor's exit. She harumphs and pushes the door open, ready to vent her anger not on the boy who was technically at fault but on the next target. Whoosh! A strong gust of wind blows into their faces the moment they step into the room and allow the door to close. They both cover their eye and began their own perspective battle mode initiation. By the time the wind dies down, Issei gathered his first boost, and Kaneko juggled between preparing to fight with and collect more nature energy. Dum badum dum 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 dang. While still in battle mode, the two confusedly looks at the direction where music of some sort is coming from. Since the gust earlier knocked up a lot of dust, they didn't see much. Another gust of wind blows by and knocks away the dust, showing a giant frog at the far end of the room with smaller frogs surrounding it, playing music? Listen up, you chicks, open up your beady little eyes and take a good look. Behold, the divine ninja Jiraiya's free and uninhibited, wild dance. Atop the giant frog, a man wearing a green kimono and matching pants with a red haori over the kimono dances on his gettys. He exclaims something completely incomprehensible and flips around his ridiculously long spiky white hair. Kaneko and Issei stand stock still in battle position and gives the men a duel. The hell? Face. The music dies down and the small frogs bows before disappearing in plumes of smoke. They stood silent still. A tumbleweed passes by somewhere in between. Lord Jiraiya. Why are the enemies not doing anything? The large frog shifts from its still position and whispers as quietly as it can. Issei's and Kaniko's, the hell, face gains a new level of intensity. They're just wallowing within our amazingness, Gamagachi. It is honorable to give them a moment of reprieve figure within their mind. Without shifting from his one-legged pose, the man whispers back just loudly enough for the teens to hear with a completely serious look on his face. Like hell, Issei, being trained for a year to be Naruto's straight man, throws a 5 boost dragon shot at the man from across the room. He immediately falls on his face as he loses all the energy he had gathered into the shot and was only saved when Kaniko lowers herself to heal him with her senjutsu technique. Not enough. Kaniko narrows her eyes as her senjutsu given sense locks back onto the strange man's energy. She quickens Issei's stamina recovery by offering her own store and while continuing her multitasking of gathering natural energy and locking onto the man. Ho, not bad kid. The smoke blown up by dragon shot settles to show the man standing crossed-armed with not even a scratch on his body. The only relief they have is that the giant frog is gone. That would have ruffled my clothes if you hadn't done it so far away, ha 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 ha. Why the hell is everyone in Naruto's memory so overpowered, damn it? Issei shakily stands back on his feet as his stamina recovers and he summons the gauntlet again with a quick mental order. He stands straighter after the first boost. Of course I'm strong. I would have whooped the brat's butt more if he'd thought otherwise, ha 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 ha. The white-haired man laughs loudly and disappears from their sight. From their previous meeting with disappearing characters, both Issei and Kaniko quips their head behind them only to meet two large palms tapping their center and push them down onto their butts effortlessly. Kaniko widens her eyes as nature energy leaves her energy at a rapid pace and kill her ongoing momentum, leaving her effectively disabled until she can balance her internal storage back to normal. She flinches when she feels the man pats her head gently. You're good to be able to control senjutsu like that at such a young age, but don't overwork yourself. It'll be a shame for a cute kid like you to turn into a statue before you even hit puberty, ha 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 ha. The man takes 2 long steps from behind the 2 downed teens and flops on his butt after turning around. He puts on a huge smile and leans his head into one hand while propping the arm on his knee. So, what are kids like you doing here in the shades of the brat's memories? Huh? Issei blinks in confusion as he looks at the strange man with a slight tilt to his head. Well, that intelligent answer rules out that you're a Yamanaka. The man mutters under his breath before rubbing his chin a bit and asks with a raised eyebrow. You kids do know where you are, right? We're in Naruto's dreams and memories, correct? Kaniko answers this time with more certainty to her voice than her brunette friend but still kept it a question. The situation is strange enough as it is. Talking to Naruto's memories isn't exactly making it worse. In fact, it might actually clear up a few things. To an extent, yes. So that means you're here on purpose. Seeing as you don't mean much harm though. Why are you looking through the brat's brain? The white-haired man continues the back and forth questioning session with a raised eyebrow. Kaniko narrows her eyes as she feels something off about the casual tone he used. Before she could put any thought into it, however, Issei answers. We wanted to find a good present for Naruto. I kinda feel like I owe him, haha. The brunette teen rubs the back of his head sheepishly and lets out a dry laugh. The man pauses for a moment, as if trying to process the words the teen had spoken and asks for the brunette to say it again. After Issei repeats himself, the man blinks owlishly at the teen and looks over to the girl for confirmation. The girl slowly nods her head while not meeting the man's eyes. You used an advanced yin release technique to infiltrate the brat's brain and find him the perfect present? Yes. Kaniko nods again as she looks over at Issei, who looks confused about the phrasing as well but nods anyways. Ha 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 ha. That's hilarious. The boy struck gold. He's found comrades who have even less common sense than he does. The man laughs loudly while rudely pointing an index finger at the 2 teens before him. The laughter did not die down until a good minute later and Issei contemplated throwing a 15 boost dragon shot at the man before deciding to save up some more for a sure kill blow. Have you tried treating him to a full course of all-you-can-eat ramen fest? The brat used to love it when he ate me out of my money. I would, but he owns a ramen shop. There's not much of a point. Issei sighs as he slumps over and leans his head onto his gauntlet hand. Ho? So he stopped and chose another career path? The man straightens his posture immediately and solemnly asks the teen in a soft-spoken, serious tone. Aren't you his memory? Shouldn't you know? The brunette asks with a confused look on his face. I'm a part of his memory, not his whole memory. Remember what I said before? You're in the shades of the brat's memory. Everyone here, excluding you too, is a portion of the brat's memory dedicated to keeping notes of what that person is like. Think of us as folders for sorting out faces. The man takes a moment more to contemplate what he should explain next before pointing a finger at himself and saying, we're not him. We're what he remembers us as. We're the embodiment of memories, the shades of memories. Therefore, anything he thinks we don't know, we won't know. You sound like you're close to him. Shouldn't you know that he had quit his career? Kaneko slowly asks as she still finds what the man says to be slightly paradoxical. The man sounds so cheerful when talking about the blonde. If Naruto remembers the man as someone who's close to him, then shouldn't his memory of the man be more caught up to current time? I've said it before. If he thinks I don't know, then I won't know. The only reason we shades won't know something is because he thinks he's keeping it a secret from the real us, because he's lost contact with the real us somewhere down the line, or most like. The man speaks softly, almost melancholically, and puts on a smile as he sadly trails off the last one. Kaneko widens her eyes as a thought reached her mind. Or most likely? Issei puts on a grim face as he too understood the underlying tone. Because we're dead. The man completes with certainty, implying to them that he's one of those within this category. Well, enough about that. I've kept you kids waiting long enough. Just go ahead downstairs and have your adventure. Quickly putting back on a bright smile, the man stands up and pats the dust off of his pants. He points at the other side of the room and an entrance into the walls materializes out of nowhere, similarly to the first floor after Kaneko defeated the man wearing the sunglasses. Are you sure you're supposed to just let us pass? Issei raises an eyebrow at the blatant disregard for the built-in rule, albeit there isn't any written but it's implied. Meh. If you mean any harm, one of the other shades will just kick your ass till you give up. It doesn't really make any difference since you're low Junin level at tops. I'm sure Hitaki or Tsunade will be happy to take over. The man shrugs and says some incomprehensible but ominous sounding words. You both have such a carefree attitude towards the important sounding things. Kaneko states with scrunched eyebrows and a small scowl. It runs in the family. He is my godson after all. Now, go on. Shoo. Find a shade that knows the perfect gift for the brat. I never really gave him anything good anyways, so I wouldn't help much. If all else fails, just treat him to a popsicle. The brat has a sweet tooth for the orange-flavored ones. Though, blue ones are good too. The man makes shooing motions with one of his hand while using the other to push Issei, who in turn pushed Kaneko, towards the exit with a small piece of advice. Sure thing. Thanks for say grins and thanks the man before running towards the exit. Thank you. Kaneko gives a slight bow to show respect and follows the brunette. Jiraiya looks at the two teen as they jog towards the entrance and watches as it closes behind them. The room grows dimmer and he feels his own presence fade. He smiles fondly and says before disappearing, "You found good friends, Naruto." Floor 3. Boxing kangaroos. URAAH, show. Bam, 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 bam. Gall. Issei flies back towards the entrance of the cave after taking a hit on his unguarded stomach. He slams onto the closed entrance of the room and staggers back to his feet as a boost flows through his body and reinforces his stamina and endurance. Even with his fifth boost, though, he still feels in pain racking his body. GU. A moment after Issei got knocked back towards the entrance, Kaneko follows as she's unable to match the flow of the five-gloved pair of kangaroos. She twists her body in the air and lands in a crouching position with one hand holding her throbbing sides. It's no good. We can't beat them like this. Their combination attacks are too synchronized for either of us to keep up with. Issei glares at the kangaroo wearing 3 boxing gloves. What do you think we should do? Kaneko twitches her ears and sways her tail while she wearily keeps the bouncing kangaroo in sight. She pulls back into her modified boxing stance and chants a look at Issei. Issei grinds his teeth as he racks his brain for a plan that could counter the multiple hits. Suddenly, a light bulb appears out of nowhere and smashes into his head. Ding! He widens his eyes as the answer comes to him from nowhere and turns towards Kaneko with a serious look. Kaneko, I have a plan. Work with me on this one. The girl looks into the teen's eye and sees firm determination. She smiles slightly and nods. Soon after, the two of them rush back into battle. Kaneko, who hanged loosely from the straps that Issei tied to his front to hold her, think baby strap carrier, blocked all attacks from the blind spots while Issei engaged the adult kangaroo in a straight-out fist fight with his continuous boost. They won beautifully with their teamwork. Floor 4. Genzo, stay still you two. This is a serious picture for your future career. An old man pokes his head out from behind an old-fashioned camera and berates his 2 newest clients. Kaneko inwardly raises an eyebrow as she stands without movement. Besides her, Issei fidgets some more before stopping and looks anxiously at the camera, as if expecting a beam to come out of it or something. Though knowing Naruto, the chances aren't that slim. On 3 now. 1, 2, 4. The man speaks in a monotone voice and says his lines. He clicks the picture on 4 and sends them out of the room to the next level. The whole way to the door, Issei keeps looking behind his back, his gauntlet readied and boosted the whole way through. Floor 5. Issei Hyodo. Wait a minute, why the hell are we fighting me? Issei yells loudly as he points one gauntlet finger at himself across the room. The same question goes for me. Why would I be inside Naruto's shades of memories without his presence and with Kaneko instead? Wait. Could this be a date? Real me? Dating a minor is illegal, you know? the other Issei exclaims loudly and looks at them in alarm. He uncrosses his arm and look at the pair in no hidden shock. We're here to find the perfect gift for Naruto. Can you let us through? Kaneko answers the other brunette with a twitch to her eyebrows. Though they are the same person, the other across the room is more exasperating than the one next to her. Is this what Issei is like from Naruto's point of view? A gift? What for? His birthday is not until October. The other Issei blinks in surprise and gives them a questioning look. A gift for saving our asses. Remember? The near hit-and-run car accident? Issei looks incredulously at his alternate and explains the need for a gift. Oh, so the real me is still on that, huh? The other Issei owes an understanding and takes a thinking pose for a few moments before snapping his finger with a large smile. Have you tried giving him an orange whoopee cushion and a box of ramen? Why does everyone think to suggest that I do something as insensitive as that? Stomping his foot down on the ground, Issei grabs his hair in frustration and screams aloud. First it was Dirt, then Kaneko, and now Naruto's living personification of himself. Why does everyone think you'll skimp out on giving a well-thought-out gift? Not good, huh? Well then, I guess you'll have to pass me in order to get to the other shades. The other Issei laughs sheepishly at his true self's reaction. It looks like he stepped on a landmine created by himself. Straightening himself, the teen pulls out a futuristic-looking tranquilizer gun from his back pocket and aims it at Kaneko. Bang! Through many hit and failed trials, Issei and Kaneko shoots off immediately with their augmented speed and blitzes their enemy as he slowly initiates his attack. By the time that the shot was fired, the two of them were already halfway across the room and were still accelerating towards the other brunette. Ha! Hup! Quickly finishing the rest of the distance, Kaneko and Issei punches forward as the other Issei lowers his hand with a surprised look on his face. Bam! Bam! Huh? Issei looks in surprise as his gauntlet fists strike a black wall where his other self's face was a mere moment ago. Before he could make sense of anything, however, the black wall pulses and shoots him back to the wall of the entrance with a strong gust of wind. Kaneko, who's a step slower than her partner's boost, heightened speed, sees the teen as he flies backwards and immediately jumps away on instinct with widened eyes. Not even a moment later, a beam of red-hot energy incinerates the floor where she stood. Not chancing something completely unknown, she pulls back for a tactical retreat and was at Issei's side a few instants later. She notes that the black substance to cause the retreat did not do anything else but cloak itself over the other Issei's shoulder. Her Issei heavily pulls himself onto his feet after the crash into the wall, and together, they cautiously gauge their enemy. Whoa! Did you guys train behind Naruto's back to get revenge on him for the pranks? Because you are fast? Alternate Issei looks at the pair with starry eyes as he whistles lowly and switches his gun to semi-automatic fire nonchalantly. Seriously, that was like twice Olympic running speed. I didn't even see you move. The same question goes for me. Issei grunts as he straightens his stance after another boost comes and reduces the pain from the attack. What the hell is that thing on your back? I'm pretty sure I've never seen that in my life. You too. I have no idea what it is either. Alternate Issei shrugs his shoulders and looks at the cape in curiosity. A moment later, it changes into another gun similar to his first and then into a gauntlet similar to Issei's, both keeping the blackened shade. Alternate Issei whistles lowly and turns it back into a gun before pointing both at the pair. Sure is useful though, apparently it can change shape. Bang! It took Kaneko and Issei 3 retries to pass the level. On the second try, Kaneko managed to pass the hails of elemental bullets and struck a lucky hit on the black wall weapon, cracking it with her senjutsu augmented strength. On the third try, they took advantage of the knowledge restart on the alternate side and had Kaneko attack him first with a full-out senjutsu blow, penetrating the wall and striking down the other teen. Alternate Issei's last words were directed to the real Issei. At least wait until she's 18 before initiating step 2.6b of the harem plan, dies. Issei ignored all of Kaneko's questions about the harem plan on their way to the next level. Floor 6. Madara, Uchiha and Jubi. I get the feeling that if we open this door, we'll be seeing IMMGULPS loudly as he looks at the innocent-looking door handle. It might have been either his sense of self-preservation or his well-honed Naruto trouble senses, but something is telling him to use the GTFO maneuver. I think we should follow Jiraiya-san's word and treat Naruto to some ice cream. Kaneko vigorously agrees with the teen as she too feels something very wrong coming from the other side of the door. It might be because she's currently really in tune with nature right now, or because her kind has sharper instinct than most other species, but something is telling her to abuse the most used of the 36 stratagems: retreat, forever. So, retreat? Issei gives his white-haired partner a side glance and asks the most obvious question. She returns his look with a definite nod and together they turn around yelling, "Dirt, get us out. We're done here." Not a moment later, their vision blackens as if they blinked and wakes up in the beds under the hospital basement again. Uzumaki Ramen's. The shop sure is empty today. Matsuri sighs in the quiet shop. She looks down at her tea and raises the cup to take a sip. It's been a slow week. We've made enough from the lunchtime rush. Naruto simply says while leaning his back against the chair. His head is tilted back in his seat with his nose facing the ceiling. His hands gingerly gripping the cup as the clock ticks by. Only enough to meet the quota for the month. We've been skimming by for a while now. Matsuri frowns as she remembers her earlier bookkeeping. They've been barely making enough per month to keep the shop afloat on the green zone. Do not worry about money trouble. I can always find a way to work that out. You're young so you forget. The blonde pulls his face back towards horizontal and smiles at his silver-haired roommate. That I've kept this shop running on worse condition. In human years, you're not old enough to brag about age seniority, Naruto-sama. Matsuri playfully a smile back at the blonde before standing up and goes to make more tea for the two of them. As she enters the kitchen however, the doorbell rings open and the two of the missing group members' voices declared throughout the shop's empty interior. Yo, we're here. Hello. For 5 it is. Matsuri smiles as she pours more water into the pot on the stove. She then carefully goes to the cabinet to get more of Naruto's handmade tea leaves and waits for the water to boil. Hey, Matsuri. We brought some of ice cream. Thought you might want to try the green tea flavored one, so come out and eat before it melts. His head pops out of the entrance and the teen gives the silverette a greeting and a wide grin. Thank you very much Issei-kun. I'll be out immediately. Matsuri returns the smile and the brunette nods before ducking back out again. Outside the kitchen, Kaneko plops into her usual seat and pulls a random stick of ice cream from the bag. She blinks in surprise when she pulls out a 2-in-1 foodie bar packs and remembers Floor 2's old man's last word. If all else fails, just treat him to a popsicle. The brat has a sweet tooth for the orange-flavored ones. Though, blue ones are good too. She looks down at her bar and sees that it's a light blueberry flavor. Inwardly shrugging, she pops open the bag and split the stick into 2. Holding one out to her blonde friend she asks, "Want one?" "Thanks, blue ones are my favorite." The blonde blinks at her for a moment and glazes over his eyes when he sees the blue bar. He quickly returns with a big smile and accepts the blue stick. As he ate, he turns on the television and the game system while handing the white-haired girl the controller. In the game system, he inserts the newest version of Love, School Fest, which has been set on the net to have every route as hard as the regular Tsunere route. Kaneko narrows her eyes at the challenge and took the controller from the blonde before starting a new file on the game. She takes a peek at the other files and widens her eyes at the completion rate the blonde chef has on the game, especially since it only came out 2 days before. Firing up from the challenge now, she finishes her fruit bar and quickly grabs another ice cream stick while quickly reading through the walls of text. Issei got out of the kitchen to join them when Kaneko enters her 3rd stick of ice cream and quickly makes to retire of at least one for himself. Matsuri came out of the kitchen with 2 buckets of Naruto's specially made ramen ice cream to share with the group along with her tea. She quite enjoyed the green tea flavored treat. Dirt joins in on them after parking his van and treats the group to another bag of ice cream when Kaneko decimated the first bag while trying to rush clear the Kuwadere little sister route. Tears flowed freely from her eyes as she reads the heavy but extremely emotional dialogue, but she persisted with great determination. Kurama complimented her on her powerful gaming aura and Naruto smiles lazily while watching the scene, ensnaring the image into his mind for a long time to come. Like that, they spent the rest of the day sitting around. Issei finally got what he wanted before he left with a quick thanks as he walks out the door. Omake. Extra levels floor 4, alternate, Hato. Huff. 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 Do you really think you've got the best of me? The fake priest throws away his broken glasses and rips off his ripped clothes to show a lean body that's riddled with bruises caused from the fight he had earlier with the fools in front of him. Sorta, yeah. You're on your last leg, I'm on my last leg and Kaneko's ready to go. Issei struggles back onto his feet while Kaneko emphasizes what the brunette said by shadow boxing energetically next to him. The brunette straightens his back and gets into a stance that worked after another boost ran through him. Never mind, now it's just you who's on your last leg. HMMP, impudent fool. I've only begun to show my power. For you see, this, the man gestures his body, isn't even my final form. URAHHHHHHH. What? Issei takes a step back as the man bends down and begins screaming. Before the teen, the man is engulfed within a giant spiking aura of green and he changes form. What was once human starts looking inhuman, and by the time the aura dissipates a bit, the man is turned completely black. His power level, it's over 9,000. Kaneko stares in odd horror as her senjutsu senses give her an approximation of the man's dangerousness. What? Over 9,000? But that's impossible. Issei looks at his partner in shock. Kukuku, shall we begin? The blackened man chuckles and disappears. The pair grits their teeth and moves as well. After a while, they were able to win with using 2 dragon shot, one completely normal while another made out of nature energy. Floor 6, behind the scene, Madara Uchiha and Jubi. Posing in a rather dramatic fashion atop the Jubi, Madara intently stares at the closed wooden entrance with his Rinnegan eyes. Though the lights were dimmed for dramatic effects, he could still see relatively well past the marbled wall and at the intruders, or rather, their chakra outline. Below him, the Jubi prepares its giant party popper and holds it at the door. Its tail wags back and forth as it too waits in anticipation for the enemies to come. He squints his eyes when the chakra shapes shift around in front of the door but didn't enter. After a while, the shapes disappear and he feels the Jubi drooping in disappointment underneath him. He pats the beast and says encouragingly, maybe they're tired from navigating this far. Do not worry, a worthy enemy shall appear for us to fight soon. The Jubi grows a hopeful eye on top of its head and looks at Madara. The man puts on a reassuring smile and gives the eyeball a signature good guy thumbs up. The beast rumbles in joy at having such a great friend and turns around to put down the party popper. Madara jumps down the beast and begins putting the food he had refrigerator. It was his hopes to celebrate with the intruders for being the first to enter his new humble abode. Hashirama did not count, he was an uninvited guest. He pouts in a bit of sadness as he thought about how the other shades never visited him. It's not like he's going to try to kill them or anything. At first anyways. Behind him, the Jubi rolls in its cushioned bed and began gnawing on a bone it got from God's nowhere. Floor 32. Namikaze Minato, wow, you two have good teamwork. I might actually have to get serious, ha ha ha. A blonde man who could almost be a clone of Naruto laughs aloud as he takes off his burned overcoat and sets it aside. He then looks at the tired pair before him and nods. They were trying their best to defeat him, so he should be doing the same. You mean you weren't? Issei squeaks. He had just put his all into the last dragon shot in a beam shoot off with the man's Rasengan beam. He had won the battle, but the man came out relatively unscratched while the brunette is on his knees. Kaneko does her first aid with senjutsu as the man says the ominous words. Shaw. The blonde man angles his fist to hang by his sides and closes his eyes in concentration. He then opens them quickly as the ground cracks under him and a wave of golden energy surrounds his body. The energy swirls around him until it fully encases his body and dissipates slightly to show him within a new golden overcoat. Rasen. He bends his knees and cups his hands to his sides. A blue orb of energy appears within the two hands and the man tenses his body. Gon beam. Issei and Kaneko watches in odd terror as a beam even bigger than the first shoots itself from the man's hand and heads towards them with amazing speed. Floor 55. Kaneko Tujo, Sharon, great, now we're fighting you. Anything you want to tell me about that's up your sleeve before I find out the hard way? Issei groans out as he looks at another alternate version of the two. Unlike alternate Issei, however, this Kaneko is acting completely different from her usual self and is literally running around in circles chasing a butterfly. I punch hard? Kaneko raises an eyebrow at her alternate's behavior and searches her brain for anything that might have made Naruto think that this is her. The search ended up inconclusive. NYA. Alternate Kaneko makes a mighty swipes and pins the butterfly down to the ground with a triumphant cry. As she was about to inspect her hunt, however, she finally notices the two invaders in her room and stares at them. A few minutes passes by with her just staring unblinkingly at the two before Issei couldn't handle it anymore and raises a hand to slowly wave a hi at the girl. At the action, the girl's eyes shines and she leaps comically but mightily at the pair. The ground fractures under her power. Ramen, transform. At the apex of her leap, she pulls out something from her skirt pocket and holds it up dramatically. A flash of bright orange light shows itself from the thing in her hand and makes both Issei and Kaneko look away. Immediately following that, a mighty crash sounds itself from the middle of the room. The pair blinks the dots away from their sight for a moment and looks back towards the sound. They gape as they see alternate Kaneko wear a ridiculous ramen-themed outfit. The alternate gives the pair an impassive glare that resembles the real Kaneko remarkably and points a wand with a large Naruto maki on the end at them. Slowly, calmly and coldly, the alternate declares in a tone that makes both the brunette and whitehead shiver in instinctive fear, "Magical ramen girl. Uzumaki Ramenyan." Kaneko was right. She punched hard. Floor 67. Tsunade Senju. Dragon shot. Issei throws all of his strength into hitting the woman with the greatest Oppai he's ever seen in his life. Normally, this act would be a great sin for him to do, but he has to do it lest he risks the danger of Kaneko. He tries to reason with his mind that he's not actually hitting a woman with great Oppais but rather Naruto's memory of a woman with great Oppais. It worked somewhat as he gained the ability to fight again, but it still pains his heart nevertheless. If he had Uchiha blood within his veins, he would have evolved his Sharingan from one Tomo to Mangekyo after the first punch. TCH, not fast enough. Either ignorant of or ignoring Issei's pain, Kaneko clicks her tongue as the woman disengages her and dodges the beam of dragonic energy with fluid ease. The middle school girl did not know why, Oppai, but whenever she looks at the woman, Oppai, she gains a strange feeling of hatred towards her, Oppai. Whatever the case, she draws on more nature energy and starts furiously attacking the woman. Issei follows with tears streaming down his eyes. They're over there. Get them, girls. How do they manage to always find us so quickly? Worry about that later, run first. Following another peaceful and completely ordinary day of school at Kuo Academy, Issei, Matsuda and Motohama find themselves running for their lives from the track team, the kendo team, the archery team and the chemistry research team. While the first three were indeed faulted and have the rights to be mad at the trio of perverts, the fourth is only joining into the hunt for educational purposes. Issei calls it them being malicious since they have nothing better to do. As of now, half an hour into the hunt, nobody has bothered to correct him on that. Shit, they're catching up to us. I've got an idea. Matsuda, take the left. Issei, the right. I'll go straight up that path and turn tracks. If we split up, they'll have less of a chance of finding us. Be sure to not get caught. Good plan. Run for our life, got it, right, break. In a moment of ingeniousness and perseverance to survival, Motohama calls forth the best plan that he's ever devised in his entire life. Split up and continue running, aka plan hope for the best. Surprisingly, Issei and Matsuda accepts the plan almost immediately and begins to run their separate ways even before Motohama says, break. They each cast a prayer both onto themselves and to the other two escapees, hoping that one of the others will act as bait while they themselves stay safe. Following another peaceful and completely ordinary day of school at Kuo Academy, the ear-piercing howls of the perverted trio's screams ring through the campus, signaling the end of school and the beginning of club activities, much like how the school bell should have done it. Drink this slowly, Issei-kun. The pain should ease off after a little while. Thanks, Matsuri. Lying on 4 conjoined chairs, Issei is given foul-smelling, pasty-looking medication and a cup of herbal tea to drink. Instead of blanching at the rancid medicine, he opts to quickly swallow it and gulps down the entire cup of tea in one go. The both of it went down easily, leaving no bad taste in his mouth to gag on. He mentally thanks Matsuri for that. Exactly like how she prescribed it, the pain disappears like mist in the desert sun within 30 or so seconds of intake. Issei sits up in his chair and allows Kaneko and Matsuri to retake theirs. Wow, don't know what that was, but it does wonders. Any side effect I should know of? Losing 10 years off of my life? Early balding? Sudden urges to praise Naruto's ramen? From his seat, Naruto scoffs at the questions. Matsuri smiles soothingly and pours Issei another cup of tea. The only after effect should be some acute muscle pains at sudden movements. The medicine only helps numb the pain and aid with decreasing inflammation and swelling. Stressing already hurt muscles will make your case worse, so I will suggest that you hold off on your after-school activities for a few days to heal up. Keep it down and don't get caught. Got it? Matsuri gives Issei a stern glare at his joking answer. He caves in immediately and repeats Matsuri's instruction word for word. Seeing that he understands, the silver-haired girl nods agreeably and returns to her smiling appearance. TCH, they didn't make this game to be played, they made this game to torture gamers. Hearing Naruto's frustrated voice, Issei turns around to pay attention to what the blonde is doing. He's playing the new installment of Love, School Fest, the game that is advertised to have all character routes as equally as difficult as the Tsunere route of the previous release. That is to say, hair-pullingly frustrating and nigh impossible to play. Naruto roughly slams the controller onto the table as the familiar, "You lose," lettering appears on the television screen. The table shakes and Kaneko's carefully stacked tower of ramen bowls fall. Matsuri deftly catches the bowls and the leftover that fell out from within. Again, catching her falling bowls as well with her cat-like reflexes, Kaneko turns an annoyed look at Naruto. The blonde catches the look with an uneasy smile. He rubs the back of his head and apologizes to the white-haired girl for the umpteenth time since she's come to the shop today. Sorry about that, Kaneko-chan. The game's just so hateable. Why play it then? I never stand back down from a challenge. Saying this, Naruto reluctantly pushes his untouched ramen bowl over to Kaneko in an offer to placate her. The middle school girl readily accepts the bribe and slurps down the ramen bowl being given. Naruto gives her a wistful look before turning back to the game controller he's discarded. He takes it up and navigates the game to start up again. Matsuri quietly take away the finished bowls of food and comes back out of the kitchen with 2 new ones for Naruto and Issei, some desserts for Kaneko and a new pot of tea for herself. She takes a seat after giving the unasked orders to a gracious Naruto, a still hungry Kaneko and a recuperating Issei. After a while, Issei gets bored of watching Naruto play his game and Kaneko eating the snacks Naruto's cooked up some time between yesterday and today. He reaches down to his backpack and starts on his homework. This math problem is wrong, Issei-kun. You're not supposed to carry out this variable until you do this first. Ah, thanks, I didn't get that one, I see it now, thanks. Curiously looking at the math homework Issei's doing, Matsuri helps the brunette by pointing out various problems he's getting incorrect from the parts he's already finished. Obediently listening to the academically superior Matsuri, Issei quickly goes through the homework in front of him, turning it from half-finished pages to something that's presentable to the teachers who handed it out. Thanks for the food. Finishing the last of the food presented to her, Kaneko claps her hands together and thank both Matsuri and Naruto for treating her to another meal. Matsuri smiles pleasantly while taking the empty dishes and bowls into the kitchen. Naruto makes an acknowledging grunt while cursing the game he's playing. The game soon shows Naruto the "you lose" screen again, which in turn makes him rage over his most recent loss. Kaneko, predicting what Naruto was going to do beforehand, intercepts him and takes the remote away as he was about to slam it. She navigates the game's menu and starts a new game of her own. Naruto stares for a moment and shrugs indifferently at the act. He turns to the slightly soggy, still untouched ramen bowl that Matsuri got for him and digs into it. Matsuri comes back out of the kitchen and pours him a cup of tea. Is the game really that hard? Impossible is a better description of it. Curiously watching Kaneko methodically push through the game panel by panel, Issei puts down his pencil and questions Naruto about the game's difficulty. The blonde store owner looks up from his bowl of ramen and answers with a frown. The painful memory of his latest loss is still fresh on his mind, hurting and frustrating him even when ramen is healing his spirit. I've seen some ending scenes on MeTube, so at the least, it's not impossible. Those people who put up the videos are the game developers. They're trying to give his players the false hope that the game is beatable. Those videos are probably unused test datas. Issei pulls up the video of the last fight scenes from one of the game's many routes and shows it to Naruto. The blonde adamantly stands his ground, proclaiming to everyone at the table that the game is a hoax. "Ah, I've finished stage 1. A moment after Naruto's declaration, Kaneko adds in her own surprised-sounding input. Naruto and Issei turn their attention back to the screen to see with disbelief. In Naruto's case, the Kaneko is handily maneuvering the game character through the so-called impossible levels with unnatural ease. Every female opponent is taken down handily and every male foe is turned into another swooning schoolboy by Kaneko's skillful hands, picking up Speg the game with ease. Rapidly and efficiently, the white-haired girl goes through the next stage and the stage afterwards, barely taking a breather to save her progress in between. She takes down all opposition with awe-inspiring expertise and soon makes it to levels that Naruto, the only person in the group to have above an hour's worth of saved playtime within this game, didn't even know existed. What the hell is up with that boss? There are way too many tentacles in this stage. What's up with Kaneko? How's she doing any of that? It looks like the developers have taken to referencing Lovecraftian cosmic entities for this heroine. I remember reading a magazine about this particular fictional god. It was titled, Cthulhu and You, 101 Ways to Find Inner Peace. The fact that you're reading something like that is concerning me. Do you need some break days, Matsuri? The shop's empty for most of the time. You get some rest whenever you feel like it. Don't worry, Naruto-sama. I was just curious. I read the magazine mainly because it had an interesting recipe for green-colored sponge cakes. Oh, I remember those. They were pretty good. Thank you for the compliment, Issei-kun. Would you like some? I still have another batch that I was saving. Really, I'll have some, me too. Of course, I'll get some for you too, Kaneko-chan. Speaking of whom, how many levels did you just clear through? 7. 7? While Naruto and Issei exclaims this, Matsuri leaves the table with her teapot to go into the kitchen again. Naruto looks dazedly at Kaneko's masterful playing and gives a hollow laugh every once in a while after finding out just how far ahead of him she is. Issei clears the table of his finished homework and sets aside the ones that aren't completed to do later. He curiously watches the middle school girls play as well. A few minutes passes and Matsuri comes out of the kitchen with 4 plates of sponge cake slices. Naruto continues to languidly stare at the television's direction and Issei starts gulping in apprehension as he watches on. The choices that Kaneko was making, it made no sense to him. Why would she go here when it is more obvious to go somewhere else? How did she know to use the disposable items at this moment rather than saving it up to be used later on in the story? How did she know what the answer is by glancing at it once from a list of 30 other choices? It didn't make sense to him what the white-haired girl is doing. This only gets more confusing when Matsuri starts actively playing with Kaneko. Their clearing streak intensifies in speed and quality. Issei starts having trouble keeping up with the dialogue at times. After a few more levels, they completely lost him while being immersed in the game. Issei gave up following them after they passed through another seemingly impossible level 8 levels ago. He gulps down his tea and pours himself another before looking at the oddly silent Naruto. The blonde has on a look of deep concentration. An aura exudes from his body and his eyes move manically back and forth on the screen. Naruto had to actually switch to his serious mode to follow the female in their play. For that, Issei gave the 2 girls a silent mental applaud. Phew, done. That was certainly interesting. I liked this one more than I thought I would have. MN, especially when the final boss showed up after we only. The game is soon beaten mercilessly by Kaneko and Matsuri. As final boss fades away and the ending credit roll in, Kaneko gently puts the controller down on the table and have a heated conversation with Matsuri. The topic about the game went straight over his head. wounding his pride as a gamer and lover of these types of games. Finally, Naruto stands up from his seat to look in Issei's direction. Issei catches the blonde's eye as it flickers towards the kitchen area. He understands the blonde's intent immediately. He gets up from the table as well and walks towards the kitchen entrance. In the corner of his eyes, he sees Naruto giving Matsuri an excuse for her to keep talking to Nico about the game. After making it into the kitchen and waiting for a few terse moments, Naruto comes in with a platter of the used dishes that he and Kaneko made. He quickly dumps it into the sink to soak and sits down on a stool nearby. He gestures for Issei to take a seat on one of the stools near the dish racks as well, and the brunette complies. A moment passes by as Naruto, who's still radiating a serious aura, contemplates his words. What he says afterwards rang true in Issei's mind as well. Women are complicated creatures. Issei merely nods at this. Naruto continues after seeing that Issei gets the gist of what he's saying. We, as men, will probably never understand their ways. Why they do this, why they think that, we might never understand. Again, Issei gives an affirmative nod in agreement. But with that said, it hurts my pride to lose like this. Issei gives the blonde a sympathetic, yeah, therefore, we will train hard to be like them, so that we can understand them and then surpass them. Until the day when we can beat the game just as fast as well. Issei makes a nod without thinking about what the blonde just said. He then takes a moment to process the new information. Wait, what? Because we can't outgirl them as males, we will have to infiltrate their ranks as females. Issei raises his voice with surprised confusion coloring his expression. No, wait. Hold up a minute, of course, we can't just infiltrate their ranks as we are now. We'll need a new identity, a new life, a new perspective. We'll live in breath as girls until we're ready to re-challenge this game. Naruto ignores Issei's request for a pause and manically continue with his tangent. I've already got some fake ids ready in case something like this happens. We'll leave today and go around to gain experience in being a girl. I don't know when we'll come back, so I'll bring some money and clothes. I will also have to bring. Coming to a slow but full understanding of what Naruto's mad ranting is about, Issei makes to stand up from his stool to shake Naruto out of his insanity. The blonde snaps his finger and a rope comes out from beneath the stool seat to tie down Issei. Alright, everything's planned. All that's left is the execution. You ready, Issei? Issei grunts in an attempt to snap out of the ropes tying him down. It didn't budge in the slightest bit. He looks alarmingly at Naruto. The blonde is pulling items out of a cabinet near the sink. A brown wig, a large makeup kit, some cosmetics and napkins. He shivers for no reasons at the sight of the napkins. The blonde closes the cabinet after pulling out the items and turned to Issei with his hand laying on the makeup kit. Issei opens his mouth to give the blonde a word of protest but is muffled immediately by a gag that appears out of nowhere. The brunette muffles out another few sentences in mufflinese before realizing that it's futile. Relax, I'm pretty good at doing this. It'll be over in a moment. Issei could only sit there and bear the unbelievably scary smile that Naruto's put on. In his mind and from the back of his throat, a small squeak of fear rings out. Hey, Matsuri, we're going out. Watch the shop, K? I might be out for a while. Of course, Naruto-sama, don't stay out too late. Yeah, got it. See you later. Telling Matsuri that he's leaving, Naruto casually walks out of the shop with a prettied up Issei vacantly following him. The brunette is now dressed up in a neat, librarian girl get-up which contrasts his usual sloppy dressing style. The knee-length blue skirt, black pantyhose and woolen sweater looks nowhere out of place on his body. Kaneko gave Issei a thumbs up for look and tells him to go get him. The brunette coughs weakly and wipes away a red, lukewarm stain on his lips afterwards with a dazed look. It seems to Naruto that the teen is still withdrawing himself from the reality that's in front of him. The blonde understood Issei. It's someone you know so well. You can't hold a grudge against them either, only silently watch on with a look of fake happiness as they succeed. Thinking of this renews Naruto's vigor to get his new mission started. His eyes blazes with the will of fire and he pulls Issei out of the store, staggering the brunette out of his hazy stupor. Breaking out from his Naruto-induced trance, Issei takes a moment to reassess his situation. Having the memory of Naruto closing in on him as his last fully conscious thought, the brunette immediately knew what was going on when he feels a breeze between his shins. He tries to dissuade the blonde pulling on him again, this time unhindered, but it was too late. The fire has been lit. There are 3 criterias that we need to complete in order for this mission to end. Sitting cross-legged at a table with a cup of red bean soup in front of him, Naruto speaks clearly in an effeminate tone for Issei to hear. He holds up 3 fingers to the fidgeting brunette's direction and begins listing off his self-imposed challenges. The first objective lies in our seductiveness. This is a gal game we're trying to conquer. It was foolish for us to have come in with no experience in wooing men. Women are, inherently, very good at wooing men. We, as men, are much less capable. Naruto pulls down the first finger out of his 3 raised ones while saying this. Issei deadpans at it as soon as the blonde finishes. And you think Kaneko has the ability to do that? More than we do, in any case. The blonde shrugs his bared shoulders and continues on under the brunette's stony glare. The second objective is based on our girl power, or, in other words, how strong we are in comparison to other girls. So what? We fight them. You have more than enough strength to fill for the both of us. Issei's deadpan continues to thrive by being fixated to the blonde. Naruto shakes his head to deny the brunette's claim. Actually, no, I've never fought while wearing a skirt, so I don't know of any methods to keep it at minimum fluttering. If I were to flashily show my skirt's contents whenever I fought, forget girl power, I'd just be channeling my pervert power. This might actually reduce my fighting capabilities by up to 90%. This coming from the man who cross-dresses at least once a week for his own twisted amusement. Issei's deadpan starts to break under the pressure of his twitching eyebrow. He stares humorlessly at Naruto as the blonde continues unencumbered. The third and last objective is something that the game makes us work for. The ability to rise above the occasion and conquer every challenge in our path, whether they be mental, physical, or spiritual. You lost me. What's our last objective? We have to be able to get someone to propose their undying love to us. Issei's twitching eyebrow halts with an almost audible creak. His face twists in disbelief as he runs over the words Naruto said just now in his mind. Sorry, I must have misheard you. Can you say that again? We have to be able to get someone to propose their undying love to us. Why? That's how all the game ends in the School Love series. If we can do it in real life, we can do it in the game. Issei splays his arm in Naruto's direction while putting on an expression that clearly states, "Are you an idiot?" Naruto takes a sip of his red bean soup and answers Issei's unasked question with a raised eyebrow that silently says, "Of course not, I'm completely sane." The brunette takes another few minutes to uselessly flail around. Naruto, in the meantime, goes to the cash register of the cafe they were in and pays for their orders. He also buys a cheesecake to go before returning to the still flailing Issei. After a moment, Issei pauses altogether and turns mechanically to look at Naruto. Staring at the blonde straight in the eyes, Issei slowly gets up and away from his chair. Immediately after he's clear of the chair, Issei turns his back to Naruto and makes a mad dash towards the exit. Naruto sighs aloud and snaps his finger. Like earlier with the stool, ropes come out from below Issei's abandoned chair to tie him up and sit him back down. No, not like TMNMMNN. The teen screams loudly just before another gag appears out of nowhere to restrict him of his capability to talk. Naruto takes a look at the brunette, then at the bag with the cheesecake in his hand, and then at the waiter who was frozen in shock at the event that occurred moments earlier. "Excuse me, can I get a plate for this and another red bean soup? My companion and I still need this table for a bit longer." This is stupid. It's also crazy. This is stupid crazy. Why can't you just look up a game guide or something? Because that would defeat the purpose in doing it by ourselves. We need to restore our honor as a gamer by completing this without any intervention. Gamers don't go this far, ever. Most don't even get past their house's front gate for regular occasions. Grumpily following along with Naruto, Issei continues to try and dissuade Naruto of his insane scheme. He was sure that deep down, the blonde knows that he's following an idiotic pursuit. Issei just has to dig really deep down. Where's Dirt when you need him? He'd talk you out of this dumb idea. Mumbling this to himself, Issei continues walking. Naruto perks his ear to hear the comment and curiously pulls out his cell phone. You're right. Where is the old man anyways? Dialing the cell phone number of the man in question, Naruto and Issei stops at a crossroad intersection. Naruto leans against a nearby signpost while Issei puts his face closer to the blonde to listen in on the conversation. The phone rings 3 times before static starts filling its speaker. After a moment of static, the other side clicks and Dirt answers. "Good afternoon, Naruto-san. Or is it good morning? Maybe evening even, I can't tell time very well from my current location. Everything's just distorted. It's early afternoon here. Where are you?" That's a difficult question. If I had to put it into human terms, I'm at the place where time and space ends. No, maybe it's better to call this area as the land of apocalypse's beginning. Actually, it's not much of a land, but more of a, well, don't mind my location too much. Naruto's eyebrow twitches. He pulls his phone away from his ear to look at the caller ID. It was still connected to Dirt. The sound of something detonating erupts in the background of the call. What? I think it's best to just say that I'm off on foreign soil to do my job. There's been complications with this area ever since I played around with space-time continuum to help Issei-kun find you a present. I've been busied solving issues that have been popping up left and right. The middle-aged man sighs forlornly on the other side of the phone. It was followed by another explosion and a long-winded sip of coffee. I'll most likely be working on this for a while, so don't worry about me too much. Also, if you're near Issei-kun and Kaneko-san, can you tell them to not use their rings until I come back, or in case of an emergency? It would be great help. A particularly loud boom rings out somewhere, cutting the man off mid-sentence and making Naruto pull away with a flinch. Dirt curses aloud and quickly says his goodbyes to Naruto before hanging up. Naruto stays on the line for a couple of seconds to hear more explosions. When the call cuts off with a do, Naruto makes to trace the receiver's end only to find that it's out of service range. Blankly, he turns his head to Issei's direction and mutter, "Present?" The brunette shakes his head in denial at any accusation the blonde might be directing at him. It was a group decision, Kaniko's, his and Dirt's, to keep the fact that they delved into Naruto's memory a secret. After rethinking it, they felt it might have been over the top and too intrusive. Even if it was technically Naruto, in the end, who's deciding to give out any personal information? As for the space-time continuum, Thin had his coffee once during the whole conversation. He's probably teetering off the cliff of delusional already. Naruto shrugs and makes a call to Kaniko to pass along Dirt's message about the ring that she and Issei ended up obtaining from the adventure in Naruto's mind. Issei reaches into his pocket to feel the two items within, Dirt's ring and Naruto's pitch-black omamori. Ever since either of the two items has been given to him, he's made a habit to bring them along wherever he go. Idly, he remembers the third charm that he never carry around, another omamori, one of friendship, that Naruto's given him the day after Tanabata. Whenever he carries it around, he'd get weird looks. He wonders why. Well, I don't know what that was about, but Dirt's out of the equation for now. Naruto shuts his phone while Issei is pondering and catches the brunette's attention. The blonde points at the 3 street signs above the post he's leaning on. Let's get back on topic. Since this was my idea, I feel like it's best that you make the decision on where to go. Left is for seducing guys, right is for girl power sparring, and straight ahead, if you dare, is hands on marriage. You chose, where to? If you're trying to give me some sense of gaming choices, I chose the off option. Naruto raises an eyebrow and slowly rubs his thumb and middle finger together, as if he's preparing to snap his fingers with them. Right. I chose right. Issei promptly raises his hands up in surrender and picks the path of least evil while looking around frantically, trying to spot any chairs that he might get bound to for another session of Naruto's. Convincing. His spine shudders at the thought, even though he himself cannot remember much of it. He knows that the memory repression is for the best, so he stays clear of any thoughts that might trigger the memory to resurface. Naruto nods approvingly at Issei's choice and direction and turns in said direction to go towards. He puts a vice grip on Issei's left arm and drags the brunette along. Naruto didn't want to give the younger teen a chance to come up with any more delusional ideas of giving up their quest to becoming the strongest of females. Apartment complex, there is our first opponent. I can sense a powerful amount of girl power coming from this person. Crouching down by an apartment complex's window and peeking inside with narrow eyes, Naruto mutters to himself and Issei. Issei, standing much less conspicuously than Naruto, looks above the blonde's shoulder to see the poor fool who's about to get roped into Naruto's scheme. The brunette blanches at what enters his sight. Inside the apartment room, a muscular man is repeatedly punching a sandbag easily twice the size of Issei himself. The muscular man moves with great hustle and agility, blurring his punches but somehow still allowing Issei to see the chiseled brawn of the man. Though he couldn't hear it, the muscular man's punches clearly vibrates through the sandbag and anything within a 10-meter radius. The muscular man oozes of manly strength. This is not what irks the brunette though. No, what irks him is the fact this manly man, the person who's showing off proving manliness, some of the greatest manliness within human capabilities, is garbed in pink. Practically covered in the stuff of pink, to be exact. Pink muscle shirt that sticks to his muscular form, pink bows that ties his hair back in a twin tail, pink hair that waves majestically with each successive punch, pink skirt flutters with each footwork change, pink boots to keep his heels digging down to the floor, and even a pink staff tied to his side. The muscular man is a complete contradiction of manliness and girlishness, a horrible combination that demands Issei to rip out his eyes the moment he saw it. Now do you see that I was being serious? Covering his eyes before he crosses the line, Naruto pulls Issei away from the window frame. The brunette slowly nods his head monotonously as the urge to claw out his eyes lessen with the passing seconds. After a few seconds, he pulls his hand up to tap Naruto's. The blonde gets the message and lets go right after to meet Issei's grim look with a serious one of his own. That, right there, is most likely the strongest girl power within this city, Miltan. As you can see and feel, Miltan's girl power is tremendous for a human, almost scarily so, she is. Naruto goes on to give Issei an in-depth identification and biography of the muscular man, Miltan. The blonde did not leave much out to imagination and gave Issei Miltan's whole life story and quirky habits. How he got it, Issei does not know, but after seeing the mass of pink and muscle with his own eyes, the brunette finds himself not caring much. A man of faith who defected from the church years ago to pursue a lost cause, Miltan settled into Japan 2 years prior and made this apartment his home. He got into the custom of watching magical girl shows because they were the only thing on television at the time to entertain him as he trained. The show passively took him over, both replacing and filling the void that was once the home to his faith. After a year or so, the man, previously known as Michael the First Laverick, took on the persona of Miltan. He is nice to people of any age and any race, regularly donates and volunteers at shelters and has a habit of knitting, sewing, cooking, cleaning and body muscle training. This is the man known as Miltan. So how are we supposed to out-girl power him? I don't think fighting him with your fists is a very tactful method for increasing your girl power. It was left out that Issei doubted Naruto, for all his feats of impossibilities, could have matched the muscular man inside the apartment, in terms of physical capabilities. We're going to face him in direct combat, of course. Patting the brunette on his shoulder, Naruto smiles confidently and peeks back into the window. The hair on the back of Issei's neck stands on end. Riverbank, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Tokyo's 457th Iron Chef Kitchen Master Cooking Contest. Today, we have the on-again off-again ninja god of ramen, the wonder chef of Uzumaki Ramen himself, Uzumaki Naruto. Facing against him in a match that he instigated, we have the magical cook of Christianity, the saint of Kuo district, Miltan. Sitting at a three-panel table with a large, golden gong behind him, Issei plugs his left ear to block out the loud voice of the announcer, Judge sitting next to him. He flinches as Naruto's name and identity is called out to the anticipating crowd sitting at the slope of the riverbank. For a moment, Issei questions Naruto's logic on going around in female drags, with a fake identity readied, while stating his full, true, male name. Issei then remembers that this is Naruto in topic and forgets his previous mental question. Yes, two men face off in good fight. Food looks good as well. I look very much forward to when they present his food. The smell alone hungers me much. Smoke from food and strong fire builds my appetite. Sitting to his right, a guru says this to his backwards microphone. A memory of the first time he met the guru with Kaneko, in this exact same place and situation, recalls itself in his mind to remind him that the guru is blind. Discreetly, Issei turns the microphone around for the man with the forced-sounding accent. I'm pretty sure the fire is a fire hazard. Looking back at the fire that Naruto and Miltan. He shudders at the very mention of the muscular man. Or standing by. Issei pulls out his phone and dials the fire station's emergency number. He leaves his thumb readied on the call button for safety measure. It's not a hazard until someone starts dying. Issei spins around from paying attention to the guru to paying attention to the announcer, Judge sitting next to him. Under a mop of shiny, black hair and on a pretty face is a smile that makes Naruto's sinister smirk look like a baby's joyful grin. He then turns his gaze down to the microphone sitting in front of the woman to see that she's cover FT hand, so as to not let what she just said get projected towards the audience. While our two contestants prepare for their cook-off, why don't we get introduced to our panel of 3 judges? Before he notices it, the woman's malevolent smile has all but disappeared to let another, much more disarming, expression take its place. He wasn't fooled though and scooted his seat away from her and closer to the guru. The announcer, Judge, didn't seem to mind and continued announcing her lines. Starting from our very left, we have the blind guru of Curry, a man whose kidnap bequeathed this role of judge from fresh out of his hospital bed. Some of you might know this almighty guru from his earlier achievement of being the champion to Tokyo's 456th Iron Chef Kitchen Master Cooking Contest where he even-handedly defeated Wonder Chef, Uzumaki Naruto. He is also the first in the last 100 years of recorded history to complete the infamous taste bud explosion, the move that defeated Uzumaki-san. This was not done without incurring fatal injuries however, and Guru was hospitalized for weeks till today, where he and his master chef's soul crawled from the pits of hell to judge this contest. Everybody, please give this dedicated guru a hand. A round of applause is given to the guru and Issei notices the blind Indian man flinching noticeably to the loud sound. The man shifts nervously in his seat and Issei's eyes latch onto something injected into the man's arm. Something that looks suspiciously like an IV bag. His mind reels back to the announcer's previous statement, fresh out of his hospital bed. For not the first time in the previously past months, Issei's trust for blondes plummet down another notch, passing the point of straight to hell and into a territory beyond that. Next we have the mysterious food critic appointed by Uzumaki-san. While this stunningly beautiful wallflower is relatively unknown to the world of food critics, the Wonder Chef himself has vouched for her presence and she was seconded by both the great guru and the saint of Tokyo. Please welcome, Ryugu Seiko-chan. Again, another round of applause is given to the announcer's seat by the audience sitting on the riverbank slope. Issei, sitting closer to the guru now, notices that the man is getting accustomed to the sudden loud noise. The Indian man is currently fixated on the arena standing closer to the river, where all the cooking equipment, the large fire and ingredients are at. Issei turns his attention towards the 2 men at the arena as well while the announcer woman introduces herself. A small part of him doesn't want to know more about the lady, if at all possible. Naruto and Miltan have moved from the large fire to the central table where they are examining the ingredients left on it. They are talking to each other with a pleasant smile on their faces. Miltan's smile wasn't very pleasant, actually, but it was a lot less bloodthirsty looking than her usual expression. Naruto's changed his hairstyle into a comfortable bun while Miltan's twin tails have combined to make a single, flowing ponytail. They are both donning aprons over their similarly stylized clothing, a combination of short skirts and lightly colored blouses. It sickens Issei a bit to know that, somewhere deep down, he's preferring how Naruto looks while cross-dressing over basically anyone else. In the background, another round of applause goes off to tell Issei that the blonde announcer is done introducing herself to the audience. Naruto and Miltan notices this too and shake hands with one another before going to their assigned cooking stations with the ingredients they've initially chosen. The announcer begins to give the crowd a shorthand version of the rules while the two contestants settle into their area. The rules basically sums up to 5 things. Contestants will have to cook the chosen dish in under an hour. The contestants are allowed to procure more ingredients during the 60 minutes cooking time. 3 dishes must be served to the judges after 60 minutes have passed. Order of serving is up to contestants. The one with the most points after judging wins. And no sabotaging of any kinds, to the other contestants or to the judges. Issei wheedled that last one in because he knows that Naruto is very flexible in his willingness to persuade others to his advantage. With that out of the way, contestants, are you ready to begin? At the announcer's word, Naruto and Miltan nod simultaneously. Naruto daintily toys with a knife in his hand. Miltan begins flexing her fingers. Alright then, let's see what our mystery dish will be. Pulling out a big red button from below the paneled desks, the announcer presses it with a clack. Behind him, Issei hears gears whirring into life. He turns around to see a screen on top of the gong. The screen is flashing dozens of names into existence and replacing them too quickly for him to read properly. After about half a minute of going through the probable dishes, the names start to slow down to a pace that he could see and then to a crawl. Beef ramen, curry rice, stir-fried vegetable, mud pies, pork ramen, hamburger steak, omelet, sandwich, miso ramen. All of these passes by before the scrolling stops at udon. And the special dish is udon, everyone's favorite, yay. Issei's ears perk at the depressed note the announcer has to her voice. Though she said her part cheerily, there's a sad undertone to it that contrasts with her earlier cheer. He shrugs indifferently at this notice, passing it off as her not liking this dish very much. On the count of 3, we will begin. Contestants, ready your station, 1, 2, thr. Just as she was about to finish the countdown, the announcer pulls out a hammer from under the desk and hits it on the gong sitting behind him, her and the guru. The finalizing sound echoes loudly, covering up the rest of the announcer's word with its booming rain. The guru jerks very noticeably at the sudden sound and covers his ears. Issei quakes for a moment before calming. Naruto and Miltan both disappear in twin blurs of orange and pink. At a speed that would have made some shonen manga characters very jealous, Issei sees the two pilfer ingredients by a barrel full to bring back to their cooking station. Naruto's stack builds up to consist mainly of flour, eggs and vegetables while Miltan's grow in size with purely meat. It lasted for no more than a scant second before the two's bodies reappear back into Issei's sight again. Immediately slamming 4 pots brimming with water onto his stoves, Naruto puts the water to boil with a timer next to it. The stove was hot enough to transmit heat all the way to the judging seat and made Issei sweat. While that was going on, Naruto begins using the flour, eggs and other assorted ingredients to make some dough that would be the noodles. Continuously kneading the dough, Naruto begins the long and arduous cycle of making noodles from scratch. Taking his eyes off of the disguised blonde, Issei looks over to the other side to see what Miltan is doing. He blanches as he sees the man, sitting cross-legged by an open fire while roasting something over it. The stove, or what used to be a stove, is now a raging bonfire fueled by what looks like skeletal remains. A long bone sticking out here, a long bone sticking out there. The mountain of meat that he took from the central station earlier is all jammed onto one long metal pole that he's using to slowly spin and cook over the blazing fire. Offhandedly, he looks to the side to see the guru drooling at the cooking food. There's an audible growling sound coming from his direction. His stomach's, actually. Issei fishes out a chocolate bar he had with him and gives it to the guru. The man accepts it with a nod of thanks and again, Issei catches a glimpse of the IV bag strapped onto him. Almost unwillingly, Issei turns to look to his other side to see the announcer animatedly broadcasting whatever spiels she's making up on the spot. He actively turns off the ignore Cerealier to hear what she's saying. Miltan seems to be using a Western mountain cooking technique from the ancient Nigerians' culture. This action of fueling fire with bones is done in times long past as an offering to the spirits and their god of fire, purification and life. It is their belief that by giving the gods the remnants of their people's slain, things such as intestines, hearts, brains, bone matters, skin matter and even eyeballs, the gods will reciprocate. Sensing that the discussion is probably going to go in a disturbing direction, Issei turns the ignore switch to the announcer back on. Instantly, her voice tunes out in his brain to becoming incomprehensible background noises. Incomprehensible background noises that the teen is glad to be able to ignore. Going by the look of Miltan's face, the announcer is hitting completely off the mark with her session into weird and foreign cultures. The pink-clad man takes the bones out of the blazing fire and tosses them masterfully at the trash can right after the audience all exclaim something in surprise. He notes that the bones were leftovers from the meat being cooked, probably the pink man's twisted way of recycling. A glance to the right gives Issei an idea of what caused the audience's surprise. The announcer is showing the crowd something on a large screen television. The brunette squashes his curiosity in order to not look at the horrors that were on the screen. Instead, he goes back to examining Naruto. The disguised blonde is now sitting by the stove with the 4 pots. A rack is situated by his side, carefully balancing the overflowing noodles inside it. He's looking up into the sky with a face that expresses absolute boredom. Naruto catches Issei's eyes and mouths something to the brunette. Issei takes a moment to decipher it as, "I forgot to bring my PFP. Do you have yours? I want to try the Tsunere route again." Issei flips the ignore button on Naruto too and turns it on to shut off the blonde. Just like with the announcer, Naruto phases into the background. Within Issei's mind, the cooking showdown that had just started minutes earlier is now turned into a cooking show starring Miltan with the guru's stomach as background music. It honestly wasn't his worst way of spending an hour outside, not playing video games. Time's up, prepare and present your dishes to the judge, contestants. Swinging a wooden stick in a wide arc to hit the gong behind her, the announcer breaks Issei out of his bored reverie to declare the next stage in the competition. Naruto and Miltan both hold up a tray with 3 bowls in it to bring to the judging panels. The 2 cooks separately passes out their respective bowls to Issei, the announcer and the guru. Issei looks down at the 2 bowls in a look of pure perplexity. The first bowl, Naruto's bowl, is basically a bowl of pork ramen with udon noodle substitute. It has the same exact layout and scent that is present in Naruto's model bowl of pork ramen. The second bowl, Miltan's bowl, is just a stack of meat. Using his chopstick to flip the top layer over, Issei sees a few strings of udon noodle drowned in the sea of meat. Issei looks over to the guru to see the man openly drooling with his mouth agape. The sound of the guru's stomach has all but disappeared and Issei worries that if the man starves anymore, he'd soon reach enlightenment. Turning his sight over the announcer, Issei sees that she too is also poking at the dishes with a look of bewilderment. Most noticeably, she's poking at Naruto's ramen dish. Well, let's get started then. The first one up for judging is contestant Naruto's dish, udon ramen. The announcer apathetically announces the start of their judging with a glare of disappointment at the dish's creator, Naruto. The blonde shrugs his shoulder at the glare. Issei watches the two interact with mild curiosity before grabbing his spoon and chopstick and digs in. Ramen. As soon as the noodle, broth and condiments enter his mouth, Issei's eyes twitch in knowing familiarity. Naruto's dish is literally just a bowl of his usual pork ramen. Even the noodles, though they are shaped differently, is just ramen noodles. The whole dish is a lie. Well, it's a delicious lie, but it's still a lie. Issei finishes up the bowl anyways. It was rationed to be filling enough but not too filling, and he's hungry from all the walking around that came with Naruto dragging him around. The ramen wasn't bad. I'd rate it a 9, honestly, but the theme was udon. Unfortunately, I can only give you a 5 for effort. After finishing the bowl faster than Issei, the announcer wipes her mouth carefully and gives her score to Naruto. The blonde grimaces at it, but accepts it at the end. Issei follows the announcer's lead and also gives Naruto a 5. The guru does the same after cleaning the bowl spotless. In the end, Naruto came out with only 50% of the full score. The disguised blonde took the lamentable score with noble silence, as if to say that he did not regret staying true to his ramen way. Here goes nothing. As soon as Naruto backs away and allows Miltan to step forward to be judged, the announcer picks up her chopsticks and tucks into Miltan's bowl. Hearing the announcer's mumbling, the guru begins to heartily shovel food into his mouth again. Issei reluctantly picks up his own bowl to follow the two. Meat. As expected of a dish that's littered with it, the first bite resulted in Issei tasting nothing but meat. With just one chopsticks full of food, Issei is already feeling the overpowering taste of meat that flows within the bowl. This isn't bad. The meat is grilled to good consistency and the taste is very delicious. Even though it's lacking in the noodle department, there's definitely udon in this. However, I can't very well condone a bowl of meat to be anything more than 5 points. The announcer puts down her chopsticks after the first bite as well and give him the neutral score that she gave Naruto. Issei follows her example and gives the man the same number as well, putting the victory deciding score to the guru's decision. The guru, after he finishes shoveling down the bowl of meat, opts to giving the same score as well. In the end, the 3 judges give the most complacent score to the 2 simply because we have no idea which one of their dishes is better. Behind the judges, the audience starts muttering among themselves. They seem to be unsatisfied with how we judged. There's a sense of discord because of this. Yes, I suppose that is a way to end this competition. Unfortunately, I'm not finished yet. After all, I want to end this competition on a high note. You see, I've always disliked being disputatious. A little scrap here and there is fine in my book, and even a hard-earned argument is okay if it has good reasons. But, in the end, I'd much rather everyone get along peacefully. As if he was to be their saving grace, Miltan walks up to the judging table again with 6 more bowls. He removes the bowls at our side and puts down his new ones, 2 for each judge. Issei looks at the bowl with mild curiosity to see that it is another serving of both contestants' dish, Naruto's ramen udon and Miltan's meat udon. This time, the dishes are only half the size of the previous servings. The announcer is alternating between curiously looking at the half-sized bowls and the confident Miltan. The guru is now drooling at more food being presented to him. For himself, Issei is quizzically figuring out where the pink man is heading. For today, I want this challenge to end in what my ideal begs of me. I want for there to be no losers. I want for there to only be winners, for everyone to be winners, for there to be harmony. Saying his piece in a deep and baritone voice, Miltan lifts up the announcer's portion of his bowl of meat and pours it into Naruto's bowl of ramen. It filled perfectly and stops just short of being a full bowl. The grilled meat sinks slowly into the ramen broth and noodle, and for a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, as if cetaceans, the single bowl of combined mediocre food explodes with a heavenly scent. A heavenly light glows from within the broth and a strange calming hum enters everyone's ear. Behind Issei, the audience stops all their whispering discussions as they too sense the sudden change. The silence was practically palpable and would have made Issei nervous if not for the distraction that was the new dish before him. Unknowingly, Miltan makes the new dish for the rest of the judges, take up the used bowls and steps back to stand next to Naruto, all without Issei noticing. Not that he would have noticed much because, really, heavenly glowing bowl of noodles. I take it that you wanted to have this dish decide whether the competition remains a tie or a unanimous victory for both sides. The announcer, showing an uncharacteristically stoic face, speaks impassively while paying attention only on Miltan, even when everyone else's attention is focused on the new dish. When the muscly man nods in agreement to what the announcer suggests, she nods slowly as well and raises up her scoreboard. It has 2 bright, red 10s on it. Double the most perfect score that any judge could individually give. For just a moment, Issei's brain takes over his body's function from the stomach to make him take a look over to announcer's bowl of glowing noodles. It was licked clean and spotless. The announcer is also pushing the bowl towards the muscly man in a silent way to ask for more. Let's get started then. Unable to wait any longer, he lifts up his own pair of chopsticks and spoon again. Issei dips it into the bowl of fake udon ramen and pull up long strands of noodles to his lips. The moment it comes into contact, his mind blanks. MHNNNN. Issei opens his eyes with growing awareness. He blinks a couple of times to get his lids to fully open for him. His sight readjusts with each blink to accustom him to the light of the room. Thankfully, the lighting wasn't fully on and was dimmed enough to not be blinding. Issei becomes aware that, since he is facing the lights right now, he's laying down on his back. He takes a few more reorienting blinks before sitting up. His body didn't ache when he gets up, but he notices that his head, the area around his jaws, is a bit sore. He rubs his jaws and opens it a couple of times to get the soreness out of the way. It didn't leave no matter how he moves it. Not exactly the first thing I do if I wake up, but it's good to know that you're feeling well. Issei turns around to see Naruto, who's still wearing his disguise, walking towards him. The blonde is holding a cup of water in one hand, a folding chair in the other and a magazine in his armpit. I'm just working out this twinge in my jaws. Answering the blonde, Issei puts down his hand from his chin, because moving it wasn't helping, and looks around the room he's in. He recognizes it as a private hospital room after a moment of deliberation. The monitors and controllable bed helped him realize this. So, why am I in a hospital bed? Your mouth blew up during the contest. We allowed the ambulance on standby to take you and the guru while you were knocked out. They took you here and you've been sleeping till now. Taking a seat next to Issei's bed, Naruto puts aside the magazine and gets an apple from the basket on a short cabinet nearby. He produces a fruit knife from his skirt and proceeds to peel it in a dexterous manner, making a flower patterns out of the red skin layer. Issei, in the meanwhile, is looking at the blonde in bewilderment. His mouth blew up. The guru's too? Oh yeah, speaking of being here, you should write a thank you letter to Miltan. The guy used his half of the victory prize to throw you into this room. Naruto hands Issei a plate with the sliced apples on it and the brunette takes it with a thanks. I'll give him my thanks later. How long was I out? Issei takes a bite of the apple Naruto's peeled for him and scrunches his eyebrow at the blandness of the fruit. It tastes like nothing, absolutely nothing. There's texture and juiciness to it, yes, but absolutely no tastes whatsoever. It's 8 in the night right now, Sue, roughly 6 hours since you got carted here. Your mouth might taste a bit numb. Growing it back a ton from an explosion will do that to you. Issei blinks owlishly and a part of his brain, the smart part, clicks in the answer. He probably experienced the taste bud explosion technique and it landed him a place in the hospital bed. He's seen it before with Kaneko, the devastation of the move. He asks at the blonde if it was so and he gets an affirmative moments after having the question leave his lips. Sighing, he switches topics to one that doesn't involve his bodily harm. When can I leave? I'm feeling good to go now. After the nurses and doctors finish processing your paperwork, proof of identity and all that. I guess I'll need hurry up and fill it out then. Don't worry about it, I filled it all out for you while they were doing the checkup. I made sure that they were thorough. While the blonde says this in a casual tone, there's a tint of amusement to his voice that tips Issei off. The brunette gets out of the bed immediately and inspects his body. Legs, arms, stomach, fingers, toes, nose, eyelash. Everything was still intact. He hastily walks over to the room's bathroom, located right next to the room's only entryway, and look at himself in the large mirror. There's no new weird stitches, tattoos, drawings, paintings, writing or branding. For a moment, Issei stares at his mirror image in confusion, trying to figure out what Naruto is up to when, suddenly, the smart side of his brain pops in to tell him his current look. Long braided hair, light makeup, knee-length skirt and a hint of bulge in his chest area. Without a doubt, he does not look like a he for the people who checked up on him. I'm glad I took the time to take care of your makeup and choice in clothing. Your body, though it isn't very brawny or standoffish, is still that of a guy, so I had to make an effort to give you that shy, pretty girl look. Everyone in the ambulance car was convinced. So were the nurses. Issei slowly turned to Naruto, who was standing at the bathroom's doorway. The blonde has on an infuriating smirk that transcends physical looks of gender bound. Speechlessly, he gapes at the blonde to look for words to say. Excuse me, Miss Uzumaki, I'm here to check up on Mr. Hyoo. I see that he's awake. Before he could have come up with something to say to the blonde, a nurse walks in and sees Issei. She gives Issei a look over and excuses herself from the room seconds after entering. During the whole look through, she did not meet the teen's eyes once, not even when she checked his facial area. There was a clear look of discomfort to her expression. He stands there for a moment longer, trying and failing to rein in his rampant emotions. Hee. Before Naruto's light laughter broke him out of his trance, closing and then opening his gaping mouth while rushing at the blonde in a reckless charge. He yells out the only word that can come to mind, one filled with rage, embarrassment, humiliation and whatever else he could have mustered at the time. Naruto, ha. The blonde too, made a run for the door. Thankfully, Naruto did not make him go through any more humiliation and cancelled their quest to becoming the most effeminate of females. As it turns out, he's broken through his gaming slump while he waited for Issei to wake up in the hospital. He also bought a change of clothing, one fitting for a male, allowing Issei to leave with some pride intact. Well, whatever pride was left after his first and only run around the hospital building in drags to chase Naruto. Ding dong ding dong. It looks like time's up for today. You guys enjoy your summer vacation and get a good rest. We're going to be doing some serious stuff when you get back, so be prepared. Also, don't forget to finish your summer homework. I better not see you guys cramming to finish it on the day back. Yes, sensei, alright, you can leave now, have a nice break. Saying his piece and having finished his job for the class, the teacher leaves the room with his things in hand. Inside the classroom, the students who were obediently seated all begin to pack up their things in preparation to leave as well. Chatter begins to increase in volume as the students talk to each other about their plans for the break. Yo, Issei, what were you planning on doing? Nothing at all. I don't have any plans for summer, what about you? I'm going to summer classes to make up for some homeworks and exams. Same. I'm jealous that you get to have a full break and we don't, Mr. Second Place in class ranking. Oi, I worked my ass off not to get that. Leisurely putting his textbooks and homework paper into his backpack, Issei follows the example of his peers and talks to his friends as well. Matsuda and Motohama both made their way to the brunette's table to talk since they've already packed away their materials. They didn't bring much of anything because it was the last day of school. Once he's finished with putting away his things, he gets out of his seat and leaves the room with his two perverted compatriot. They're still bemoaning their fates and having summer classes and are poaching on the topic of having to do their summer homework as well. Geez, if classes alone weren't bad enough, we also get these textbooks the teachers call homework. How do they expect us to finish this in a month? There's more stuff in here than the amount of homework we did this year, altogether. You can probably kill someone with this. Matsuda pulls out all of their summer homework with one hand to emphasize the size of their workload. Motohama pulls away from the packet of paper as if it repulses him. Issei follows suit and grimaces at the innocuous-looking packet. He wasn't kidding when he said that it can kill someone. The weight of it alone can probably knock anyone out with a good tap. Matsuda waves the packet around in the air to make a whooshing sound that emphasizes the thickness of the packet. Seeing this, Issei loses motivation to even think about doing it during his break. An idea pops into his mind immediately after thinking this. He tells it to Matsuda and Motohama right then as it comes to mind. Hey, what if we finish the homework today? Then we'd get to goof off for the rest of summer instead of doing it. Well, I have nothing better to do today, so I guess we can try. I doubt we're going to get far though, this thing's huge. We'd need at least a few days to finish this, much less the few hours left of today. Having it pointed out to him, very literally in the case of Matsuda still waving his packet around, Issei sees the flaw in his plan. The packet of paper, or the textbook, as Motohama aptly called it, is about as much work as all of their homework from the passing year combined. Issei's looked over a bit of it already and he can confirm that the work is all just review questions from previously assigned homeworks. It's not difficult in the sense that he'll make a lot of mistakes doing it, but difficult in the sense that it'd take a long time to finish up. Still, I don't want to do this during the break. I know how you feel, man. I want to relax during vacation too. It's a pipe dream. I doubt even the people in the student council are crazy enough to be able to finish in a day. Not without looking at the answer sheets anyways. I'm pretty sure they have access to that. Like they'd need it. All of their members are in the top 5 of their own class. If they worked together, they'd probably be finished with their homework within a single hour. Why don't we do that then, work together? We can split up the work and be done faster. Again, Issei throws out another idea in an attempt to convince his 2 friends to finish their work today. The 2 look at each other in a moment of contemplation and simultaneously come to the same conclusion. Turning back to Issei, they say the same thing as a response. Impossible. Issei slumps at the reply. Thinking about it properly, it really is impossible. Even if he's got his entire portion correct, the most they'd make is at 30%. Neither has he, Matsuda or Motohama had any confidence in their ability to suitably complete their homework with decent, passable scores. The 2 are taking remedial classes because of that exact reason. Damn. Well, you guys said you have nothing better to do. Let's try it anyways. Sure. Let's go to the library. We might meet up with someone doing the same thing and cop out a few answers. Giving up on the idea that it can be done, Issei suggests just making an attempt. Matsuda and Motohama easily agree to do it since they're getting help from an actual smart person. Not that Issei thinks he is one. They all turn to the library's direction when someone speaks up from behind them. Excuse me, would you mind if I join in your homework session as well? Turning around to see who spoke up, Issei, Motohama and Matsuda puts on an ugly scowl. Standing half a dozen yards away from them, Kuo's damn handsome first year looks at the perverted trio with a sunny smile. The trio stays silent while continuing to glare at the fellow first-year teen. A long minute passes by as the 3 stays like so. Kiba shifts nervously and shuffles lightly on his feet at not receiving an answer. He tilts his head sideways to ask them silently as to why they're not responding. Matsuda and Motohama gags when they see that the action caused the damn handsome blonde to sparkle. Is something wrong? Asking with a polite tone, Kiba takes a step towards the 3 boys looking at him. They take a synchronized step back in response. They were all still staring in his direction. Kiba looks behind him to see if there's anything there that might have caused the 3 to go mute so suddenly. There's only an empty hallway behind him. Nervously, he looks back to the 3 and scratches his cheek. He puts on a hesitant smile and asks, "Is there something on my face?" As with his previous inquiries, he's met with a disparaging absence of reply. After another long silence, Motohama drops his scowl and puts on a quizzical look. Experimentally, he pinches Matsuda and twists hard. Ouch, what the heck, Motohama, so it hurts. I guess this isn't a nightmare. Aren't you supposed to pinch yourself for that to work? Yeah, why does it have to be me? Do it to Issei. Motohama, do it and I won't help you with your homework. There you go, Matsuda. The man with better grades has spoken. Oi, this is bullying. Watching the 3 start a conversation with conspicuous whispers, Kiba lowly chuckles at the sudden change in situation. The 3 put their attention back to him and he stops his quiet laughter. Sighing at the repeating cycle, Issei takes a step forward and rubs the back of his neck. Giving himself a moment to think of something to say, he looks at the menially smiling blonde. You want to join our study session too? Yeah, I also want to have free time during summer break for my extracurricular activity, so I need to get my homework out of the way as early as possible. Oh, cool. It's 2, I guess. Awkwardly ending the conversation prematurely, Issei retreats back into the trio. Kiba, sensing what's going to happen next, decides to make the conversation skip the stiff part. So, the library? Yeah, the library? Library sounds good. Let's just go. With that, Kiba, after 5 minutes of waddling through the trio's lacking social skills, joins the group on the trip to the library to complete their summer homework. Having to complete the arduous trial, Kiba is relieved to know that it cannot get any more thorny from here. Library, oi Issei, how do you do this one, again, Matsuda? Are you even working seriously? I am, you know. I totally am. I can't find it in myself to believe that. Alright, here's what you do. Scooting his chair over to Issei, Matsuda points at the problem he's currently having trouble with to the brunette. Issei takes a look at it and vaguely recalls doing the very same question once at the Naruto's shop. going methodically through the steps of solving to lead to the solution. Okay, I remember this now, thanks Issei. You should have remembered it a long time ago. The next 3 problems uses the same steps, so you better get it right. After a minute and a few questions, Matsuda returns his seat back to his spot. Immediately after, Motohama scoots his chair over with a question of his own. My turn. How do you translate this sentence? Why are you asking me? Use a translation glossary and do it yourself. I do it because it takes too much time to translate when I can just go to the source of the answers. Do it yourself. Seeing that the question was just a simple translation problem, Issei pulls up a leg to kick Motohama on his shins. The glasses-wearing teen argues and cries in a moderated volume about the injustice of the situation while getting jabbed by Issei's shoes. After running out of things to spiel about, he sighs heavily and gets out of the chair to go off and find a translating book. Kiba drops into the chair that Motohama left empty and expectantly holds up a sheet of paper to his chin. He has a small smile on his face that either shows the feeling of being apologetic or the feeling of excitement, as if he's happy to also be getting a lesson from Issei. I also have a question or two on this science equation, could I get your help? Just show it to me. Issei's eyes narrow at the chirpy pitch of the blonde's voice when he asked for help. He takes the page from Kiba and looks at the question. Right after he finishes reading it, he tosses the piece of paper back to the damn handsome. How many elements of oxygen are present in 1 molecule of water? Hydrogen 2 oxygen, doesn't it tell you right there in the parenthesis? Ahahaha, I apologize, Issei-kun. I pointed at the wrong one. That was the only unanswered question on the page. I pointed at the wrong page as well. Putting on a V-shaped smile of victory for whatever reason, Kiba happily hands Issei another page of science worksheet. This one has a bare amount of writing on it. The brunette takes the page with narrow eyes and read through it. His scrunched eyebrows lift a bit when he sees that the blonde wasn't joking this time. The questions on this page are reviewing comprehensive materials of a lot of the things they've learned in that class. He recognizes some from the final exam they took a few weeks ago. Leaning in with a pencil in his hand, Issei begins to go through the problems with the methods that Matsuri has taught him. Kiba follows along on a scratched sheet of paper. He vocally oohs on occasions when he understands what Issei's doing and ums on occasions when he doesn't. Issei, for his part as a stand-in tutor, explains the steps to the blonde when he has trouble grasping the work being explained. Handily, the two finishes the problems on the piece of paper quickly and efficiently. In the end, it only took them half an hour. Finally done with the last part. With this, I'm finished with my portion of the summer homework, Issei-kun. Finishing filling out the answer to his previous joke question, Kiba compiles all of the papers of his section and neatly stacks it. Issei stares in alarm at the tidily organized stack of paper and then look at the clock. Already? We only started 2 hours ago, at most. How'd you finish so quickly? I did the ones I could and wrote the ones I didn't for you to help me with. I did the hard work for you. Yes. Thank you for your hard work. Kiba bows his head in a respectful manner to Issei. The brunette takes it as a personal insult and scowls at the blonde. He receives a brightly smiling face in response. I'm pretty much done over here too. Issei, do a checkup on this. Motohama, you too. Yeah. The translating got easier when I asked the librarian to show me a website for it. The rest was taken straight off of our old homework that were passed back. Zero effort. It's called being efficient. Motohama walks back to the table with his own stack of finished English homework. He passes the unorganized packet of paper for Issei to check. Issei snatches the packet away and skims through it. Just as Motohama said, every worksheet has their answers filled out and every answers, while being subpar in quality, are correct. Motohama's portion of the work, as a whole, only needed some minor editing from Issei to be good enough to pass by Kuo Academy's standard. The glasses-wearing teen preens when Issei wordlessly gives it the okay and hands it back. Just as he's done to Kiba, Issei gives his friend the stink eyes. If you two have nothing better to do, go help Matsuda with his part. The 3 of you should be able to finish the math portion by yourselves, right? Issei glares at the 2 who finished ahead of schedule and shoos them off to join Matsuda with the math part of the summer homework. Motohama shrugs and trudges to Matsuda's table while Kiba pulls out 2 bottles of sweet tea from his backpack. Thanks for your hard work, Issei-kun. He puts one in front of Issei and smiles refreshingly. The blonde then turns around and follows Motohama to Matsuda's table. Issei, who's now left alone to continue his work, looks down at the bottle of sweet tea. He then stares at the 2 portions of summer homework he's taken for himself, the history and classic Japanese portion of the summer homework that he'd barely touched. Damn handsome. If you really wanted to help, then help me do these instead. Issei grabs the bottle of sweet tea, uncaps it, and chucks down half of the content before picking up his pencil again. Determinedly, he starts on his work with newfound energy. School gate, good work everyone. Though it took a while because of a certain someone slowing down the process, we managed to complete our summer homework within a day, just as planned. Standing proudly in front of the school gate, Motohama boastfully puffs out his chest and declares the group's accomplishment to everyone within hearing range. The few stragglers who were around gave them a glance before moving on. What do you mean, slowing down the process? You guys were the ones who slowed me down to help you. Stomping his foot on the ground in frustration, Issei balefully glares at the three troublemakers who caused him so much irritation. It's what you get for being a know-it-all. I'm still grateful for your help, Issei-kun. Since you're such a smarty, you should have done it all yourself and let us copy to save time. The three troublemakers banded together against Issei, making him drop to his knee and uselessly pound the ground. Matsuda, Motohama, don't you see that only showing your ugliness is making the damn handsome look even better? Matsuda and Motohama look at each other and then at the glowing blonde standing next to them. The three's eyes meet and a jolt of understanding flashes between them. Thank you for your hard work, Issei-kun. Each dropping a hand on Issei's shoulder, Matsuda, Motohama and Kiba happily convey their thanks to the kneeling brunette. I don't need your insecure words, damn it. Your fake words don't make me feel any happier, damn it. Issei's response is a tearful outcry filled with betrayed expectations. An alarm rings from within Matsuda's pocket to pull everyone's attention away from Issei's melodramatics. Matsuda quizzically pulls out his phone and looks at what the alarm was notifying him. With a sudden awe of revelation, he quickly stands up. Well, this is nice and all, but I'm going to have to leave. There's a game coming out, I ain't to be the first in line to get it. Motohama and Issei perks up at Matsuda's word. There's only one genre of game that the three of them take seriously enough to show up for the release of, Aerogaze. A game today. Ah, the one with the legal loli route is one of the options, right? Let me come with you. I wanted to get a copy too. Motohama takes a moment to recall what game comes out today and asks to join Matsuda on his trip. Issei considers on whether or not he should go as well. Motohama, buy me a copy. I can't go this time. In the end, after weighing his options, he decides that the game could wait. He hands his friend the money to buy him a copy and waves them off when they head off to the train station. After they turn the corner and left his sight, Issei turns back to the only member remaining from their impromptu study session. So you're going somewhere too? Kiba has his attention on his phone before Issei spoke to him. Hearing the brunette address him, the blonde looks up with a gentle, carefree smile. Normally, yes, I would go to my club room, but it seems that today is a special case. My club president has called the day off. It looks like I'm free for the day. The blonde puts his phone away and walks up to Issei. What about you, Issei-kun? Are you going home to fix those mistakes from Matsuda's and Motohama's section of the summer homework? Issei, in response to Kiba walking up to him, begins to walk as well. He habitually goes in the direction of the shopping district near the school. Something like that, yeah. I guess you're doing the same? I'm not much of a perfectionist, so I think I'll keep this as is. Smiling pleasantly, Kiba follows after Issei. Sounds like you're making an excuse to be lazy. Issei deadpans at the blonde for his roundabout way of saying he doesn't want to do his work properly. Kiba lets loose a refreshing laugh that tosses some sparkle projectiles at Issei. The brunette ducks aside to dodge the metaphorical weapons turned lethally real. Perhaps I am. Is there something you needed to buy? Kiba takes a look around the area where they're walking and wonders why Issei is coming through this route. Nah, I'm just going here to get some late lunch, and maybe correct the summer homework like you said. Issei points in the general direction of Naruto's shop and continues strolling towards it. Walking next to him, Kiba follows the brunette's finger and sees that he's pointing at nothing in particular. Did you miss lunch? Kiba asks quizzically, figuring that the brunette is just looking around for a place to eat. He recalls that today's lunchroom wasn't all that busy, seeing as it's the last day of class, so Issei should have been able to buy something to eat there. Ah, no, I didn't have time to get lunch. Me, Matsuda and Motohama were. Ahem, injured because of our extracurricular activities. Issei coughs into his fist and cringes at the phantom pain left on his body by the girls of the physical education, swimming class. Ah, I see. You should be more careful next time. Seeing the brunette practically shivering like a leaf for a moment, Kiba pats him comfortably on the shoulder. Issei gives a disgruntled hum of acknowledgement. So what are you planning on doing in the summer? I think you said you had club things, right? Deciding to switch topics to something more public-worthy, Issei jumps on the easiest one he can think of. Didn't Kaneko-chan tell you? Kiba tilts his head a bit and looks at Issei in confusion. As someone who's supposedly close to the cat girl, Kiba expected Issei to know what the club was up to during summer break. Instead, Issei shakes his head cluelessly. Kaneko didn't really say anything. What, are you having a club trip or something? Issei tries to remember if Kaneko ever said anything about going somewhere for summer break. He doesn't recall much of anything. Not a trip, but something like a part-time job. Here, I think I have an advertisement sheet. Kiba steps to the side of the street to let other people pass by and stops. He reaches into his book bag and searches for something. Issei curiously follows the blonde to the side. After a minute of searching, Kiba produces a leaflet which he hands to Issei. It was an occult-looking thing with a weird magic circle and a single sentence in bright red. Your dream will be granted. This looks suspicious as hell. Flipping it around to see the paragraphs of words in the back, Issei absently comments on the design. Ahaha, don't mention it in front of my club president, but I think the design is a bit lacking as well. Kiba gives the brunette a helpless shrug of his shoulder. The complacent smile he's putting on says a lot. Since she's the designer though, I, as a club member, can't do anything but obediently follow along. So what, you're a volunteer club now? Weren't you guys called the Supernatural Research Group or something? What happened to the supernatural side? Stuffing the leaflet into his pocket to look at later, Issei walks back into the moving crowd and continues walking to Naruto's shop. Kiba follows along. It's the Occult Research Club and granting wishes is a supernatural study. Kiba's smile turns a bit mischievous when Issei looks at him perplexedly. Haven't you heard of the legends? Of how devils can grant you wishes? We wanted to imitate it to see if it works for ourselves. Of course, rather than taking something like a soul, we do it for a proper price. Rather than a devil, Kaneko fits in more as a cat. Kiba snorts a chuckle and tries to hold back on laughing aloud at Issei's fitting response. Issei stares at Kiba's reaction with a bit of confusion but passes it off as a private joke only the blonde will understand. Is there a particular restaurant you're going to? Stopping at a red light intersection, Kiba notices that Issei's already decided at where he's going to turn. Yeah, I'm heading over to a ramen shop over there. Again, Issei points his finger at the general location of where Naruto's shop is for Kiba. He notices that the blonde is facing another direction a second later. You going the other way? Yes, my home is in that direction. Kiba points to another street separate from Issei's route. His smile turns a little sad. It looks like we're going to split up here. Yeah, I guess I'll see you later then. Good work on the summer homework. As he says this, the red light turns green for the road, allowing for Issei and Kiba to continue on with their respective paths. Thank you for your help, Issei-kun. Have a nice day. Kiba gives the brunette a slight bow to show his thanks and respect. You too, call if you ever need help with homework. Issei, as an afterthought, follows the blonde's example and bows slightly as well. Then, please take care of me at that time. Kiba gives Issei a hum of acknowledgement. He then goes down the road to his house. Issei looks at Kiba's back as the blonde walks away. Issei notes that Kiba was going in the same direction as where his house is. The green light turns a warning yellow and he turns to continue his way to Naruto's shop. He puts his hand into his pockets and feels the leaflet Kiba gave him. A stray thought focuses into his mind. Your dream will be granted, huh? Uzumaki Ramen Dane Lane. Yo, I'm here. Opening the door and letting himself in, Issei scans the shop's interior to see the sight he was expecting. An empty store with just its 2 employees as the only ones there. Naruto, who was in the middle of stacking up dishes in the cabinet behind the counter, turns to Issei and replies with a bored, "Hey." Matsuri smiles daintily and gives him a, "Welcome, Issei-kun. Dirt's not here again today." Making his way to the usual table where he and everyone else sits, Issei questions Naruto about the absence of the missing middle-aged man in their little group. Naruto hums agreeably and closes the cabinet he was putting things in. He hadn't shown himself yet but he might come later. Naruto digs into his pants pocket as he turns to Issei and pulls out his N and clicks a few things on it before showing it to the brunette teen.
Brew me a pot of coffee. Be there at 5 for something important. Issei reads the sentences shown to him on the phone and realizes that it's a text message from Dirt. He then quizzically looks at the clock. It's 6:30. He's late.
Yeah, so is Kaneko-chan. Have you seen her on the way here? Naruto snaps his phone shut after Issei finished reading the message and puts the device back into his pants pocket. She'd normally be the first to come, if Dirt doesn't skip work that is.
I haven't seen her, no. Issei recalls his day to see if he ever saw the girl in the passing. Unsurprisingly, he comes out with nothing. Instead he pulls out his phone and pull out her name from his contact list of 9, his parents, Matsuda, Motohama, Naruto, Dirt, Matsuri, Kaneko and Kiba. Deftly, he texts a message to the white-haired girl. You come in 2 Naruts.
Near front door. Open door. Surprisingly, the answer comes to him promptly. He looks up from his phone to the front door and walks up to it. Opening it, he sees a crowded street of people passing by the markets around the shop. A quick look of the perimeter was all it took for him to see the girl's distinctive white hair as she slowly make her way to him.
Thanks. As she make her way to the open door, Issei sees why Kaneko was going slowly. She has a sack on her back that could make Father Christmas jealous on his national holiday. He meets eyes with her and asks the silent question with a raise of his eyebrow. She shrugs while passing him by to get into the shop. He closes the door after her.
A gift from my club president. Lugging the sack and putting it on the table with a light but audible thump, Kaneko then flops into her seat. Naruto, who saw Kaneko coming earlier, comes out with a serving dish filled to the brim with ramen bowls. Matsuri follows after him with a tea set and some sweet desserts. What's in it? Setting down some bowls for the middle school girl, one for Issei and the rest for himself. Naruto takes his own seat and turns on the television with the remote. Matsuri takes a seat next to him after pouring 4 cups of tea for each person in the shop. Issei takes up his bowl, says his thanks to the blonde chef and begins digging into his food animatedly. My club president's favorites. With a chopstick hanging inches from her mouth, Kaneko uses her free hand to pull the sack open. An overflow of games fall out, starting from retro classics to the more currently popular games. And together, at least a couple dozens must have flowed out. What brought this on? Issei swallows a mouthful of broth and asks Kaneko. On the side, Naruto picks up a random game cartridge. It's an action genre game that Issei was slightly familiar with. She saw Naruto's PFP. Finishing her bowl in near record speed, Kaneko pushes it to the center of the table and reaches for the backpack sitting next to her. Her backpack. She pulls out the familiar handheld that the blonde chef had lent her a few days ago when she got interested in playing the School Love Fest series. I also finished the Rich Tsunere, Sports Tsunere threesome route. Bullshit. Naruto's answer to Kaneko's declaration was quick, precise and decisive. He puts aside his third bowl of ramen, slamming down his chopstick with a sharp ting, and leans in conspiratorially towards the middle school girl. Kaneko, in response, turns the game on and navigates herself to the last save file. She opens it and lets Naruto see the ending scene and credit run. With shuddering shoulders and widened eyes, he watches while muttering things like, "No way," and "Seriously." Finally, as the credits run its course and the start menu shows up again, Naruto admits that the girl wasn't lying and proudly pat her shoulders. Kaneko loftily puffs out her chest in reply. So one of Kuo's 2 great ladies is a gamer. Finishing up his bowl of ramen as well, Issei puts it aside and sorts through the games on the table. Some are the popular games that even he knew and others are the obscure brand that he's never heard of. The sack has a diversity in genres from platformers to puzzles to action-adventure. He pulls up a particular, labeled one and wonders about the thought. That's kinda neat to know. Ding-a-ling. It's been a while since I've come here. The doorbell rings to announce a new customer. Issei stops in his pondering and Naruto in his commendation to look at the newcomer. Dressed casually in an undoubtedly expensive suit, with a cup of coffee in his hand and a mirthful smile on his lips, Dirt walks into the shop after a week of absence. Did anyone miss me? I kinda missed the extra income, yeah. Naruto gives the middle-aged man a deadpan and gets up again to go into the kitchen. He comes out a moment later with a pot of coffee while Dirt makes his way to the table. Funnily enough, the man is also carrying a sack on his back like how Kaneko had came. Issei ponders on the coincidence with a tint of amusement. I'll be sure to leave a good tip. Thank you very much, Kaneko-chan. Dirt answers Naruto's deadpan with a carefree smile and puts the bag on the table. The previous bag and its contents were stowed away by Kaneko moments before. Naruto gives the man the coffee pot before retaking his seat. Dirt, strangely enough, pops open the cap of his cup and pours pot's whole content in. So what have you been up to? I can't see you actually working properly for a whole week. Letting Dirt take a sip from his cup first, Naruto curiously asks the question. Dirt puts a hand on his heart and looks dejectedly at the blonde chef. Issei snorts at the play. He decides to pull out the summer homework and asks Matsuri to give it a overlook for him. For your information, Naruto-san, I've been very hard at work. The exasperation in Dirt's voice was thick enough to be cut by a butter knife. Naruto rolls his eyes and hums mockingly in agreement to the man. Dirt pouts in response. I did too, you know. Here, I even have evidence to show you all. Like Kaneko had done earlier, Dirt pulls the flap of his bag open. Unlike the middle school girl, however, the middle-aged man adds flair to his action by pulling the fabric out from under the thing inside the bag itself. Issei, Naruto and Kaneko leans in to see the thing that Dirt is presenting and, as the cloth falls away to reveal what's underneath, the blonde in the group deadpans once again, a mirror. Not just any mirror, my dear friends. Dirt smiles pridefully at Naruto's lame response and draws attention back to himself. He fixes the mirror so that it points at the 4 others on the table while tweaking a knob on the side of it. The reflection becomes blurs strangely before becoming a still reflection. What it reflects, however, is the image of an empty room. This is the greatest achievement in humankind's history, Alice's Mirror. Is the name a reference to Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass book sequel? As Issei, Kaneko and Naruto keep an unimpressed expression even after Dirt has shown them what he's been supposedly working for a whole week, Matsuri took it upon herself to keep the conversation rolling. The man, unperturbed, happily answers Matsuri's question without noticing the disinterest of the larger audience. It's actually a reference to that and a curious item. Mirror Alice is the name of it, I think. Anyways, have any of you ever read the book that Matsuri said? Dirt rubs his chin in contemplation and asks Issei, Kaneko and Naruto. The blonde lifts an eyebrow and nods. Issei shrugs and recalls what little he knows of the book. Kaneko blinks and tilts her head, trying to remember what the book was about. Seeing the lost look from 2 members of his audience, Dirt specifies on his comment. For those who are unfamiliar, The gist of the story is that a girl named Alice goes to another world by falling into a mirror. And this world-traveling mirror is what you've made. Naruto perks up at the implication and looks at the mirror with a bit of interest. Issei looks at Naruto. His face has doubt written all over it. He didn't believe such a far-fetched idea. Kaneko and Matsuri did, however, and the two joins Naruto in looking at the mirror keenly. You're right in one, Naruto-san. This mirror, taking a point from both, Mirror Alice, and Through the Looking Glass, is an item that lets you travel to a world similar to ours but is, inherently, different somehow or another. Dirt puffs his chest at the attention the three are now giving him. A parallel world. Having been silent for a while now, Kaneko decides to speak up. Dirt dips his head in agreement to the term that the girl used. Here, I'll give a small demonstration. Saying this, Dirt lifts the mirror off of the table and puts it on another table nearby, with the mirror's face still pointing at group. The man tweaks another knob on the mirror and proceeds to touch the glass surface with his right hand. Unexpectedly, or expectedly in the case of everyone besides Issei, the man's hand phases into the solid material. Dirt didn't stop with just his hand, he continues leaning forward and into the mirror. Elbows deep, then arms deep and then, with a leap from where he stood, his whole body deep. In the mirror, the image of him landing the jump with a roll plays out. The man stands up from the other side, dusts himself and gives his audience a big smile and a bigger wave. I'm honestly surprised that he wasn't pulling our legs. Naruto gets up and curiously checks out the mirror in front of him. He pokes the surface and it allowed him to go right through. On the other side, Dirt beckons the blonde to come through with a large grin. I piped, looks like Dirt's being legit guys. I'll make preparations for a trip, Naruto-sama. Understanding her charge, the Matsuri stands up as well and begins to pack up the shop. With deft and efficient movements, she stores away the mess the five of them have made, cleaned up the plates and dishes, locked the door and set up their alarm system. Meanwhile, Naruto continues to testingly poke at the mirror surface. Kaneko joins him halfway while Matsuri begins to pack to go dinner for five and another pot of coffee. What company does he even work at? Issei looks at the mirror doubtfully while Naruto and Kaneko take turns prodding at the object like a pair of curious animals. Kaneko's ear perks and she gives him a brief glance and the slightest shrug of her shoulder. Dirt, who's now stopped waving on the other side, looks at the pair with an exasperated expression. I'm ready, Naruto-sama. After a few minutes of unceasing movement, Matsuri makes her way back to Naruto's side with a basket filled with food and drinks, her hammerspace purse and 4 thin jackets which she hands to everyone present. Shall we go? Yeah. Shrugging on his orange monstrosity of a coat, Naruto also takes the basket from Matsuri so that she can put on her more modest gray one. The blonde nods to Kaneko. Meeting gazes with each other, and they both jump into the mirror. Let's go, Issei-kun. With an angelic smile on her lips, Matsuri holds out her hand towards Issei, who was looking at Naruto and Kaneko landing their jump on the mirror's mirror side. Yeah. Issei heaves a sigh and takes Matsuri's hand. They both take a small jump like with the others and head straight into the mirror. Uzumaki Ramen. Another world. This place is a mess. The first thing that enters his mind upon landing in Dirt's other world is that the place is a rundown shack. He takes a slow look around the shop to see it dusty and bare of any furniture but the most basic ones. The counter on the side and the bench nailed down to the floor. After a moment of inspection, he realizes where he is. Are we in Naruto's shop? Nope. I sure as heck wouldn't let my place become this rundown. Naruto walks up to the counter and slides his hand against the wooden top. His palm comes out caked in dust. This has been stacking for at least 2 years now. So what, you never bought this shop 2 years ago in this world? Issei looks back to Dirt to see if the middle-aged man has any answer. He's surprised to find that both the man and Matsuri have set up nests on the bench and are furiously typing away at their laptops. Partially true, Issei-kun, though the proper time frame would be 3 years ago. Dirt is the first of the two to answer Issei's question with a vague comment of his own. The man, while sipping from his cup of coffee, immediately imparts the role of further explaining any details to Matsuri. Some time ago, the owner of this shop was suddenly hospitalized and died weeks later due to various terminal illnesses. The inheritor of this shop, the deceased owner's son, never did anything with it and it's been sitting here vacantly for the past 2 years. With her eyes flicking back and forth like a ping-pong ball, Matsuri compiles up a report of the shop's ownership for everyone to hear. What does that mean? Kaneko, who's not quite understanding the implication of Dirt's comment and Matsuri's detailed report, asks Issei and Naruto. The blonde goes up to Matsuri and leans over Matsuri's shoulder to read what she's reading as well. It means that this world is a year ahead of us and that I never bought this shop. Concluding whatever he's read, Naruto stands straight up again and look at Issei's and Kaneko's direction. In our world, I bought the store 2 years ago from the owner and opened up Uzumaki Ramen. In this world, I never bought the shop and the owner overworked himself. I guess this is butterfly effect or whatever. Last I checked, the previous owner of the shop in our world is spending time with his wife in England. Well, this is a morbid first impression. Issei concludes with a bleak scowl. Naruto shrugs neutrally with an expression similar to Issei's and Matsuri puts on a troubled smile. The silver-haired girl puts away her laptop into her purse and stands up next to Naruto. Well, let's not think of this for now. Dirt claps his hand together, jolting everyone out of their pondering and drawing attention to himself. He's packed away his laptop as well and is standing next to the bench sipping away at his cup of coffee. I brought you all here so that you could enjoy a trip to a new place and have some fun, not give a lesson about the inevitability. With that said, you kids find something to do. I'm going to see if this world has any good coffee. The middle-aged man walks up to the door and opens it. Sunlight spills in as the gap is made and Dirt turns to the group again before leaving. Oh, I almost forgot. Kaneko-chan, Issei-kun, if you want to return to our world, the rings I gave you two when we were gift hunting for Naruto have the same function as the Alice's mirror. I'll text you the full user manual later. Naruto, Matsuri and I have our own way to return so you can also look for us if you get lost. I'm going to look up some ramen stores then, since I haven't made one in this world, there's bound to be someone else who's made territory here. Putting on a disturbingly vulpine smile, Naruto follows after Dirt out the door. Matsuri trails closely after the blonde out the door as well with a worried look. She gives Kaneko and Issei an apologetic smile, as if to say sorry for leaving them by themselves. Issei waves it off, knowing that the girl is going so that she can keep Naruto in check. So just you and me, huh? Issei looks down to meet eyes with Kaneko. The white hair girl tilts her head cutely and nods. Issei stares at the open door for a moment. A low gurgling noise sounds up in the room. Without looking back to Kaneko or seeing her cheeks redden a little, he walks to the door. Let's get some dinner first. With that, they too leave the shop as well, restaurant. To properly use the second stage of the boosted gear, first work up to the 5th boost on the initial gear and then say the key phrase, Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker, to activate phase 2. There will be a radical shift in strength from first to the second gear, so be sure that you are ready to secure safety. Me list of primary boost in phase 2 are. Seriously? Isn't this thing a military weapon on its own? Issei sits adjacent to Kaneko, with a phone in one hand, a ring in the other, a plate of fries in between him and his white-haired friend, and a horrified expression on his face. Very scary. Kaneko, mirroring Issei with posture, food and shocked expression, utters her true feelings. She fearfully holds the ring while reading the manual that Dirt has sent her. The little trinket, so seemingly fragile that she could probably crush it between her fingers with a bit of carelessness, is supposedly a tool that allows the use of unrestrained senjutsu. Beyond what he's originally advertised it as when she and Issei had visited Naruto's memories, Dirt has made this to be an item that seemingly fills her with unlimited chakra. Where the heck does this guy even work? Dropping the ring on the table, Issei scoots back a bit and stares at it with unease. The idea that the text message might be a clever hoax made by Dirt crosses his mind, but after considering the things he's seen the middle-aged man do, the idea is crossed out. Seriously, the stuff that he's bringing out each day is getting scary. Endless coffee cup to sci-fi military weapons. It's getting out of hand here. Kaneko silently agrees with the brunette. He didn't get any more of a better deal than she did. From what she's heard of his mumbling when he read his manual, Dirt has given Issei the gift of a balance breaker. The amount of respect she has for the man rises again inside her mind. To do such a thing is nothing short of a miracle or the whim of the gods. Man. To think I brought this with me almost everywhere. I could have blown up the town on accident if I dropped it or something. Continuing on his rant, Issei bemoans all those times that the various clubs in Kuo Academy could have blown him and the town to smithereens. Kaneko's ears perk at the comment. It wouldn't. Safety measures. Tugging on his jacket sleeve to catch his attention, Kaneko displays a part of her manual to him. Both rings need to be in the near presence of each other and must be activated at approximately the same time for either to work. Apparently, the middle-aged man had the sense to limit his freely given weapons of mass destruction somehow. Oh great, we can only destroy the town if we're together. Once he finishes reading the small passage, Issei stares up to meet Kaneko's eyes and gives her a deadpan. Obviously, the ring doesn't bode well with him, safety precaution system included or otherwise. It works. Kaneko meets Issei's deadpan with a well-worn look of neutrality and holds up her hand to his face. The ring is on it, primed like how it was when they had invaded Naruto's memories, but the abundant flow of chakra was missing. The safety lock was definitely in place as far as she's concerned. You. Issei's face goes through a dozen different expressions from strained, strangled to the classic exasperated. Finally, he settles for the slump of defeat and settles into the pose of apathy. A dull sigh of denial takes flight from his lips. At least your ring is a lot less flashy. Still just as dangerous though. Kaneko wanted to refute that. Senjutsu, while being strong enough to be called a force of nature, is not something that can be used to casually blow up a mountain or wipe a town off the face of the planet. With sacred gears, however, anything is plausible. They are God's gift to man, after all. In the end, she pats the brunette's shoulder and mutters, "You're too tense." "I don't understand how you're not." Kaniko's word snaps something within Issei's mind. Another tirade makes itself be known to him in his head. "Do you see how ridiculous our situation is right now? We're literally having a trip in another world. This place right here was a maid cafe a few hours ago when I passed by, and now it's a family restaurant. And now I find out that we've been carrying weapons of mass destruction for weeks now. There's so many things wrong with this situation." Kaniko blinks in surprise at the sudden outburst and then remembers that Issei, being quite possibly the only regular person in the group, does not know anything of the moonlit side of the world. That covers being used to the occasional oddities that pops up here and there. Dirt's questionable science being well included. Again, she does nothing but pat him calmly on his shoulder. "Just go along with it." Easier said than done. Issei grumbles but puts his thoughts back in order. He notices some odd looks from the people around him and blush in embarrassment. He realizes belatedly that he's been rather loud the past minute or so of their conversation. He ducks his head and gets out of his seat to pay for the bill. "Wait a bit, I'm going to pay." Kaniko nods and pulls out her wallet. She takes out a bill and hands it to Issei. The brunette teen takes it and raises an eyebrow at just how much she's handed him. He could have covered for them both and then still give them enough change to pay again twice over. To his silent question, Kaniko simply points at the display case near the cashier and says, "To go dessert." Of course. Issei rolls his eyes after he finished following where she's pointing. He figures that if anyone's able to eat half a dozen bowls of ramen, various snacks, a restaurant's hamburger set and still have room for dessert, it'd be Kaniko. Teasingly, he asks her, "Would you like the full cake or the full pie?" "Half and half." After taking a serious moment of consideration, Kaniko looks up at Issei with star-filled eyes. Her stomach makes a growling noise of agreement. Issei, who is joking, gulps when he gets the stern reply and looks back to the cake and pie he was using for the joke. They are both easily twice the size of his head. "You know I was kidding, right?" Issei felt the urge to make it known that he was joking with her. Her stomach's growl convinced him that her reply isn't a joke. Throwing up his hands, he surrenders to the girl's appetite. "All right, half a pie and half a cake coming right up." Market Street. "So what do you think we should do next?" Walking down a familiar, yet unfamiliar path, Issei asks his companion while looking around. It amazes him how similar everything feels to what he remembers but is also distinctly different. Dirt said that this is a trip and all, but I'm not sure what he's expecting us to do. Food trip? Kaniko's gaze wanders around the crowd and shops as well. Her eyes moves past any minor details and only lock onto the important points for long enough to consider her options. She only has a limited amount of revenue and so much space in her stomach to eat all these foreign yet not dishes. They're all the same things as what we have at home, Kaniko-chan. Issei rolls his eyes at the response and dully notes how she's now slowly making her way through the remains of the family restaurant's cake. A shop that they left not even 5 minutes ago. Seeing differences is fresh and novel and all that, but what can we really do here? Meet ourselves? Kaniko munch a large chunk of cake, chews and swallows before tossing out another idea. She inwardly admits that Issei is probably right. Food is still food no matter where she goes. It's not a good idea to splurge all of her pocket money for just the novelty. That could actually be a thing. Issei pauses for a moment to ponder on the idea. That's certainly something that they could do now that they're here. He rubs his chin and further thinks on the idea. Since this world's Issei has never met Dirt and Naruto, would his life be more normal? Would he be any different from Issei? Would he even be a pervert in this world? We could do that, yeah. Kaniko, standing next to Issei, watches as the brunette's expression turned from contemplative to curious to a wide grin of interest. He pulls out his phone and begins typing in something hastily. Leaning in, Kaniko takes a look at what he's doing. She sees that he's searching up his house's address. Seeing as how track of where they've been wandering to. A thought crosses her mind. Different world. Not the same. Saying the thought aloud, she catches the brunette's attention. He pauses in his typing and looks at her quizzically. A moment later, an idea dawns into his mind. Just like how Naruto's never bought the shop. You're saying that I might have different parents altogether. It makes sense if he thinks about it. It's an alternate world where things are different from what he knows. Like with Naruto's case, the difference isn't only presence in the present but also the past, which inadvertently changes the present. His parents might never have met each other in the past and had to marry someone else. Wouldn't that mean I don't exist? Kaniko furrows her brows at the conclusion the brunettes jumped to. Because Naruto had previously said that this world is 1 year ahead of their own, she had the idea that this world's Issei's family might have moved to another house, thus, him not having the same address. But then, if I don't exist, the same conclusion could be said about you, Naruto, Dirt or Matsuri. If none of us existed, then nothing about our lives would have run its course till now. Wouldn't that actually be the same for everyone? No one from our world would exist in this world. But if no one exists similarly, then how are these buildings and street designs so similar? This world is parallel to ours, meaning that it's alike enough to be the Kaneko observes Issei as he reflects on the foundation of this world. Halfway through, she becomes more interested in counting the amount of creases frowning the brunette's face as he scrunches his expression for more concentration. She can already tell that her comment was misinterpreted very badly. She sighs aloud and breathes deeply inwards. Closing her eyes for a moment, a memorable rush of energy enters her system. She proficiently moves her chakra to intermingle with the energy, allowing both to take a form of something greater, something she can use for the task at hand. According to Naruto, Senjutsu is a natural stage of enlightenment for certain aspects for the world. Books and records of techniques used to reach this stage and when in this stage have been written by sages and living Buddhas of the far distant past. Naruto, somehow or another, having uncovered handfuls of these lost relics, found a collection of these texts and have shared it with her during the times she's trained with him. One of those many techniques is the aptly named, far-seeing eyes. After a moment to make sure it has worked properly, Kaneko opens her eyes. Her vision hazily shifts in and out. She can see what's ahead of her just as easily as she can see what a mile ahead of her is. She takes a minute to get used to it and begins looking around. In the background, she notices Issei pacing back and forth. He's now muttering something about how the casualty of any of them existing right now in this world is affecting the past, present and future. Kaneko blanks him out again. She begins to earnestly look for this world's Issei instead. A minute passes by, she finds nothing. Issei's mumbling changes onto the topic of this world's history. He's using his phone to fact-check and compares what he knows to the fact of this world. 5 minutes passes, still nothing. Kaneko's feeling a slight headache building up. Issei has now confirmed that everything historical is accurately the same. There's no difference between the major occurrences in this world and theirs. 10 minutes passes by, Kaneko's headache is becoming a mild annoyance. Issei's dragged her to a nearby bench to sit since the both of them have been standing stock still in the middle of the street like a pair of idiots. 15 minutes passes by, Issei's confirmed that the major towns and street are the same. Kaneko's headache is worsening and she's starting to figure out why Naruto had so keenly taught her this technique. 20 minutes passes, her headache reaches a breaking point and she has to force herself to stop giving the skill any more hope of being useful. Needless to say, she couldn't find any otherworld Hyodo Issei. Instead, she's found literally every ramen shop within her 15-kilometer radius. She buries her head into her hands, letting the constant flow of nature energy teeter off and returning to normal. The pedestal that Naruto sat on within her mind drops drastically by a couple of notches. Sitting beside her, Issei, awes, in an enlightened manner. Okay, so I was overthinking things after all. This world has an Issei who lives down the street from where I live. Turns out, my old neighbor and my parents bought their houses at around the same time. This world just switched who bought what. Searching through the online yellow book for help, Issei confirms, after 20 minutes, that he was speculating far too much. Kaneko balefully glares at the brunette within the depths of her hands. Meanwhile with dirt he takes a sip of the cup in his hand. The sweet fluid pours down his throat. The deep flavor infuses itself into his essence. A deep yet mellow taste was present within the blend. It brings forth the image of an energetic crowd, of people bustling and hustling, going to their destination in a hurry. He swallows the liquid, the image reinforces itself. In their hustling and constant movement, each member ceases to be their own person and is instead ingested into a larger whole. A bitter tang and a tart aftertaste follow behind. So as with the image as the coffee in his hand, he takes the cup and swiftly drinks the rest within. He pays the barista, gives the young man a thanks and a warm smile, and leaves the shop. As he walks to his next point, he mentally crosses out the previous shop. Store-bought coffee still tastes like crap, even in this world. Meanwhile with Naruto and Matsuri, 3 spoons of salt, and 2 cups of broth, carry out the noodle and wrap it with cloth. Ingenious, pure genius. Who's the madman who would try this and expect to succeed? Crouching near an open safe with a stack of paper in his hands, Naruto skims through the pages and mumbles to himself. BZZT, Naruto-sama. Can you hear me? From the earpiece in his ear, Matsuri's urgent voice knocks him out of his odd musings. I can hear you, what's wrong, Matsuri? Naruto touches his earpiece to bring it closer to his ears. He discreetly stuffs the pages into his jacket and closes the safe, locking it back to its normal state. They're coming. You must quickly escape. The urgency in Matsuri's voice ticked something off my Naruto's mind. Already, he makes his way to the escape window he's opened beforehand. I hear voices, there's someone there. From the nearby stairwell, voices ring out and the door slams open. They're here. Naruto rushes his last few steps to the window and jumps out in a hurry. His pursuers were quick on his tail. He's got our secret ramen recipe. Don't let him escape. Like a phantom thief, Naruto disappears into the daytime crowd. His chasers still continues to hound after him however, even after he's out of sight. So is the harsh life of a ramen chef. To give, to take, to steal, to make, all for the customer and for profit, but it's mostly for the customers. An idiot number 1. Welcome to another chapter of the strange relationship between Oppai Dragon and Ramen Chef. Idiot number 2. It's been 5 months. I wonder if anyone remembers what this story's about. Idiot number 3. We sure as heck don't. Story, plot, progression, what's that? Idiot number 1. In case anyone doesn't remember the plot, jump back to last chapter's timeline thing. Idiot number 2. For here, we'll add in what happened in this chapter. Warning, spoilers. Maybe, skip to end spoiler if you don't want to read it. Chapter 9, Summer Vacation starts. Issei gets to befriend Kiba. Dirt introduces to the group a whole new world. They each have their own adventure. Heavily hints that we're using canon as a reference for this new world. Sets in July. End of spoiler. Idiot number 3. So yeah, this happened. Huave another chapter up in the coming year. Idiot number 2. I'm only here to word stall another 9 words. Idiot 1, 2 and 3. Thanks for reading. Favorites, flame and review. We accept it all.